What's happening? Let me get going on the other app. That's going. Things are gonna start flowing. Let me grab me something. People are crazy. What up, crew? What? What up, the now wall? People coming up in here, man. What's happening, dog? What up with your now wall? We about to go in deep on this 1526 F no Genesis day from FBA and looking for primary sources. Now you probably seen the 10-minute video. So as we talk about the we're gonna go into the details that I couldn't really go into on the 10-minute video. We're gonna be reading a lot. I'm gonna show some of these while people are coming in though. For those who haven't seen some of these, this comes from the John. They say it's the John Ogilvy book called America. But if you really want to find the right one, you want to look for Arnaldus Montalvas or something like that. Let me see if I can find his name. I think I have it still open. Yeah, I still got it open. Arnaldus Montanus. Let me go over here. What's up, No? I recognize the face, not the name. I think you changed the name, but I do recognize the avatar. How you doing? Arnaldus Montalvas. Because notice you got that and John Ogilvy over here in 1670. But there are some books that only say John Ogilvy on them too. The same version. If I'm not mistaken. Let me see while we're waiting for people to come up in here. Archive.org. The John Ogilvy is the English translation. Yeah, yeah. What's up with your for the culture and what's up with your indigenous American? John Ogilvy. And when I found the John Ogilvy ones back in the past, um I realized that um I realized that some of the books didn't have the actual depictions the exact way, or when they did depict it, like here's one, but this isn't the same one. But when they did depict the Indians, it was either too dark, washed out, or something. I don't know. It was weird. It was really weird. It's not pulling this one up. But as people are coming up in here, yeah, we're gonna get into this. Arnaldo Montalvis is Dutch. The John Ogilvy English translation. OHF. Good God. Why do y'all want to still follow me somehow? I don't get y'all. Y'all ain't got no life. That's the first explorer artist I heard showing us John White too. But yeah. So as you see down there, this one still says John Ogilvy Esquire. But especially if he was an Esquire, for those who know what Esquires are. But inside the book, you will find lots of this. Okay. Of course, this ain't the topic for today. But as people are coming up in here, I want y'all to see some of the depictions that are actually in the book. Pretty unmistakable. A lot of these people have pearls in their ears. Some of them have pearls around their necks as well. There's a guy with pearls around his necks as well. In fact, the book talks about the pearls as well. Well, you know what I'm saying? This is why I drive that point so home so much in old bitch ass nigga Chief Natural. Let me keep my words straight so I'm not getting restrictions. But old crazy mofo Chief Natural tried to say that, oh yeah, the pearls don't matter, blah blah blah. The pictures don't. Look, man, I don't care about all that. I don't care about what some weirdo got to say. Now, notice that's what your Spaniard was. Now, if you look down here, this is a Indian being, kind of chewed up at the moment. But notice he has pearls around his ankle or calves and pearls around his arms as well. Okay, so we still have some of those. What up with the TB? Said that's the first explorer. First time I ever came across your work, you was presenting pearls. Locked me in. I'm telling, and they still keep popping up. You know what I'm saying? They still keep popping up. Look, they don't have pearls on, but you see what the phenotype is compared to these phenotypes, right? Now, if the people look like what people say modern day Siberians are, wouldn't they know how to draw a mixture between these two folks? You know what I'm saying? They would kind of have a slightly shaded person with not as broad, yeah, European features. You know what I'm saying? Like the Captain Hook goddamn mustache and shit. But yeah, they would know how to draw that. And all of them over here with the little Captain Hook stash on them. But and you got some more here. You see the hair so glow like, right? And then you see I want to show y'all one. This is one which y'all seen. These are supposed to be pearls depicted as well. They're pretty big to be pearls, but just the way they depicted them. And then we have this. Not that one's kind of crazy. This one is like a giant. Now I don't know if that's supposed to be a real giant depiction or if that's supposed to be a statue, but it looks like a real giant compared to the people, right? But I haven't read that chapter yet, so once I get to that chapter, I'll let you know more about it. But all of these people, out of all of these people that have the curly hair, you know what I'm saying? They doing their thing. But there was another one I wanted to show you. He's got the pearls. I'll show you directly from the book because I'm on the page. Hold on one second. And then we're gonna get into what we actually gonna be talking about. This is just to kind of warm it up to get the people to come up in here, get the algorithm a little time to get pushing, all that fun stuff. That's what this is for. Where the hell is the book I was reading? Here it is. Here it is. Now, notice this. Now, I said that though these things were too big to pretty much be pearls, but they are pearls, and I'm gonna show y'all. So this is a guy. He's got the hat, the crown of feathers, right? He's got the pearls. He's got the striped pattern cotton mantle draped across him, and you will see that we see that same striped cotton mantle, right, on all kind of other people's depictions when you look at people from over there in the allegory of the continents, right? I'm just gonna show one real quick. You see the pattern with the pearls, the pattern cotton mantle stripes, right? Same things, pearls in her ears, right? Same thing carried over to these folks too. But regardless of going by that, we can even read it down here where it'll tell us they had. Well, here we go. His arms and legs were also surrounded by a double chain of pearl. In his right hand held a staff. There's his staff right there in his right hand, and the pearls on his arm, the pearls on his neck, double row of pearls. Remember, De Soto also said that these people wore double rows of pearls. All of these people said this stuff. Hold on, this done messed me up. Damn it. Come on now. I lost my page. Now that's whack. Hold on, y'all. So yeah, we're gonna get started though. Carolina. So in looking in this book, this is what I was looking for. Carolina, Carolina, right there. Virginia. This is the chapter about Carolina right here. Where'd it go? There you go. But we're gonna be looking into Florida. I read the chapter on Carolina that led me to the chapter on Florida, which is where we're going to be at. But we're going to start about right here. So, okay, let me see what y'all talking about. I said, facts. What's up, Cookie Jers? Jerry Curl, indigenous fam. White T depicted themselves and their encounters perfectly, right? And sometimes they did. Yeah, they did. Sometimes they lied. What's up, I am my ancestors? Yep, that was a mantle. Yep, Nawal said not a F no mimimis. Another F no mimimis. Miss MIA, great to see. Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, you say he's talking to MIA. Yeah, I said okay, is well understood. I said okay. And let me look over here on YouTube. What's up, YouTube? Something again. Marty Jones, man, what's happening? Akila, what's happening? He said, weird other ones say John White did the illustrations. You know what? I didn't check to see who did the illustrations on that one. The name of the person. Weekends, weekdays, good kinfolk. Oh, he's not what's good, kid. Oh, yeah. What's happening, boss? What's up, fatty? So, okay. So now we're gonna get into it, y'all. So I'm here today to go deeper into the whole Lucas Vasquez de Allian situation, the whole 1526 ethno memages. We did this, that, whatever, right? I'm here to go deeper about that. Uh let's see here. So now let me tell you, for those who didn't catch it, we're gonna just start from the beginning. So FBA 1526 FBA goes by the story that they people was here since 15 or their start in America of their ethnogenesis, according to Mr. Tariq Nasheed himself, started in 1526 with the whole San Miguel del Guadape situation. Now, has anybody ever checked to see how true he was? When you go to the official FBA, we got to do this since this is for the playback for people who didn't see the 10-minute what you call it I did video. When you go to Foundational Black Americans real website, he has the FBA history, right? And in here, he's got the Lucas Vasquez de Allian situation. Let me come over a little bit. He's got the Lucas Vasquez de Allian, okay? 1526. According to him, Lucas Vasquez brought the first documented enslaved black people to the shores of what is now South Carolina and Georgia coastline. Now, also notice, what's up? I am Arindian me. Also notice that he doesn't say that these people are Africans right here, but I believe he does that just for the website because every time you hear him in his live streams, he's called these people Africans, and they're talking about people coming over on the boat. So he says that's when your ethnogenesis started between the red or the black Native American, whatever. He don't really tell you how those people got there, which we would call ourselves Black Indians. We've always been here, but he says the Black Native Americans, the Africans, and the Europeans all started mixing and mingling around 1526, right? So shortly after the arrival, Black slave people courageously revolted against the captors, leading to the collapse of the Spanish settlement. Now we're going to see how this story has been altered from its primary sources to its modern day sources because it has purposely been changed. It has purposely been changed and altered in current day sources. What's up, Nikki? Good evening, or whatever it is. Yes, evening. What's up, Jen? Jen back at it. Yep. Cookie Jerry said YT lied, but didn't think the truth in these books will bite them in the ass today, right? Yeah, yeah, that's real. And to be honest, a lot of people don't expect us to read this. Tariq Nasheed don't expect us to read this. That's why as we read it, it's gonna piss these people off because it puts all they little bullshit lies to rest. Now, don't get me wrong, FBAs are still gonna stand on this. We can debunk everything as a lie from FBA from this point, but they're so ingrained, many of them, not all of them, they're so ingrained within this whole FBA thing that they don't care how many things was a lie at this point. They're still going to claim some kind of ethnogenesis, and they don't care if ethnogenesis can be proven as a lie. I've already proven that through one census document. You can prove that, but let's keep going, okay? Yeah, let's keep going, y'all. So we're gonna talk about the F. So this is when he says 1526. So now I was reading that book today. Let's go over here. Let's go to the real shit today. So I was actually looking up information about Yamasee Indians and stuff like that. I was actually in the British records from 1711, going real deep, going real hard. And then I started to go look further back in books as I'm in the 1700s. Now I need to be looking in the 1600s, right? I'm in 1711 in these documents and I'm learning a lot. But the Yamasee War was 1715, so I need to know what was going on before the Yamasee War, and so that's what I'm doing, and that's what led me to this book again, of America, which is what we're in. Whoops, this one right here, America, the New World Record or the New World, whatever, right? That's what led me to this book again, and and as I was reading it, I'm gonna show you what I found. Now that was all about South Carolina. I may need to. Okay, no, I can do this one. All right, move that over there. So you got this particular paragraph, and we're gonna read it. It says, "But after this, Florida remained not unvisited for 8 years after the forementioned voyage. Lucas Vasquez de Alian weighed anchor with two ships from Hispaniola." Okay, so let's take first into account that as Lucas Vasquez is going to Florida, he ain't leaving from Spain. He's leaving from Hispaniola. Okay, but it says here to fetch slaves from the adjacent isles. Why? For the gold mines, which labor the natives were not able to perform. Now, which natives are they talking about? Well, they must be talking about the native of the islands of Hispaniola. Okay. The natives of the islands of Hispaniola, for whatever reason, he says, they couldn't really do the gold mines, so they went and grabbed people from adjacent islands. Now, my take on that is possibly that maybe the people know that that's their home and you're gonna have to conquer them if you want to make them slaves or so. But so you go get people from other places that are not known to this area and make them slaves. I'm not really sure. That's just me kind of conjecturing. But at the same time, I'm just gonna go with what it says here. You say Lucas Vasquez, they Alion ain't got people from Hispaniola. So those people that whoever don't know where Hispaniola is, that's gonna be your Dominica, the Dominican Republic, and I don't know where the hell my map is. There it goes. Yola, Hispaniola, right? That's not it. That's Hispaniola Street. Let me get it. See, Apple Maps ain't worth a damn. Here's Google Maps. Hispaniola. There's Hispaniola. Okay. If it's saying that he grabbed slaves from adjacent islands, I wonder where that slaves came from. Do you think the adjacent island was Africa? I don't think that's pretty adjacent to Hispaniola. That's exactly said San Dominica. Yeah. What up, Tyron? Puerto Rico. What's up, C3? She up in here? What up, C3? And I'm probably missing some of y'all. So yeah. So he's grabbing people from adjacent islands from Hispaniola. Now, let's stop there for a second just to solidify that that's where he was taking off from. In the South Carolina Encyclopedia.org, it also says that he was departing from Puerto Plata. Where's Puerto Plata in 1526? It's Hispaniola. Okay. So let's go back here, okay, to what we was reading. So he grabbed slaves from Hispaniola. When I first started reading this, the first thing I said to myself was, so you want to tell me that he went from Spain to Africa, which that ain't what it said, but he went from Spain to Africa, grabbed some slaves over there, went all the way to Dominican Republic, got there, got cool, said, wait a minute, I think I need some more slaves. Went to the adjacent islands where I guess he found more Africans that were left from what, Christopher Columbus or something? Even though that ain't what it said in his books either. Okay. Because a lot of these people will say after 1492 or 15 or whatever date they want to give, that one or two Africans got here, and after that, it was shit tons of them. You know what I'm saying? Slave breeding farms, I guess. Which come on now, there's no slave breeding farms. But okay, so let's keep going. Now, it said that he got slaves from adjacent islands. Now let's keep going. Let me give him a little pointer. Now it says, therefore, steering his course northwardly, he sailed along the coast of Chicora and Waldape. Chicora and Waldape. Now, Chicora is not spelled Chicora, but I noticed that that's what he's trying to say now because I know the area, right? It's just missing an R, really. Chicora. Yeah. And then Waldape is spelled like it's supposed to spell. But really, that's the Wale area. Now, I'd have to pull up, which I can just do it just for the what you call it. The Hernando de Soto letter. The letter of Hernando de Soto, which will easily show us right here. Wale, they said Waldape. Let's read that real quick for the playback for those who ain't never seen it. What are we reading? Let's see. We're talking about Lucas Vasquez, same Lucas Vasquez, okay? And it says here in Saint Domingo. Looks like he wasn't in Spain, even in this account, right? As he's departing or going places, right? And six other townsmen of his, I think they're left with vessels. Six others. So it was Lucas Vasquez of San Domingo and six other townsmen, I think, left there with vessels, of some of which Indians of the islands of Yega at the end of Lucayos gave account. So this is just what the Indians told. And to see the river of the islands of Santa Elena. So they was going to the rivers and the islands of Santa Elena. That's where Geechees be at, right? 7 leagues to the north of these is a town which, instead of pronouncing it Oritza, and I think I heard, was it UC3 Mama that was talking about Oritza here recently? I can't remember. Somebody was talking about some Oritza Indians or some Oritza something. They didn't know how to pronounce Oritza, so they called it Chicora, according to them. And as for the other town, Wale, instead of calling it Wale, they called it Waldape. Now that's going to become important. Said Gullah Geechee corridor. Yep. Or it's a Chicora. Now that's going to become important You said me was talking about. Oh yeah. Oh, that was you that mentioned. I was like, somebody mentioned it on a live stream here recently. That was TB that mentioned that the Oritza. So yeah. And I'm gonna have you probably come up here shortly if you want to here and give a little synopsis about that. But I'm gonna go through here a little bit. But yeah, so this is that same area, and Wale is in that same area, and Waldape. The reason why that's important is because one of these stories we're gonna get to is about Waldape. But the Spaniards saw no more towns they explored no further and did not enter to examine the coast for fear of striking their vessels and getting them lost. Thus, they accompanied more blah 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 blah. All right. So this is what it's talking about Lucas Vasquez de Alian over here. And it also says a little bit more also, but let's just leave that alone. Let's go back to what we're actually talking about. But that's three different accounts that Lucas Vasquez de Alian left from Hispaniola. He didn't leave from no Spain. So what is that saying? When did he grab Africans? What did he bring them over long ago? And that was my question. So I started reading these same things, but reading what was preceding it, and it didn't give any context that he was going to any kind of Africa. I also went to the Wikipedia articles about him, different things. I was like, where did this Africa come from? We're gonna find it because I found it. I found where people started to say something about Africa. It's not in a primary source at all. It's in modern day sources, but we're gonna get to it. So let's keep in mind though, okay, let's get back to this because there's two things that I want to tell you that at least two things that Tariq is lying about. One is that these slaves were black slaves from Africa. Now, on the website, it may not say Africa, but when he's explaining it, it's always Africa. It's always Africa. Sorry, I hear some music. It's always Africa. So I'm not gonna let anybody skirt past that. You know, we know what the hell they meant when they say some Lucas Vasquez that Ayan brought some black people. Now, in my opinion, the black people, uh, the black people that they brought over would have been I'm gonna bring TB up here for a moment, let him kick some game real quick about the Oritza. But the black people that they brought over could be anybody black, right? Likely, I would, if I was guessing it, I would say these would be black people from Spain, where the Moors just was reigning and up in to 1492. You think they just disappeared out of nowhere? And all, right? What's up, TB?
Y'all done got to this point about this Gullah Geechee corridor. Man, listen, I've been so alone in that study for a while. Like, and there's other people who caught on to that as well. The Escamaku or Ritza, they are Itzikans. You know that, right? These are the people, just like the Yamasee and the Guale and the Yuchi, that went into the Yucatan and created that culture. This is what people don't know about these Itzamaya people. Kofa the Tikwe, Kappa Chikwe, that's an interconnection. You know how many people are missing that linguistic part of the history from Carolina to Georgia, Georgia to Carolina, up to Chickaw, Virginia. Chickaw, Virginia is where Don Luis Velasquez come from. The first Indian to actually unalive Spaniards when they took him back home to convert his people into Catholicism. This is my family tree, right? So when we talk the Gullah Geechee corridor, when you mention St. Helena Island, Gullah Gullah Island, you got to mention the Oritza. You cannot talk about that place without the Escamaku Orista. Period. This is just the truth. You can't mention that area without the Kasaba, and the Kasaba Nation had many different tribes in it, bro. And this is the Lower Savannah River. So when you come up and you start running into these Uchis and these Rikahakian Indians before they become Cherokees and Choctaws through marriage from Choctaws being brought from the inner Mississippi, right? Yeah, because this was the French trying to build French Florida in the 16 and 1500s. See, y'all, that's how East and West Florida even exists, because East Florida was a part of the French territory. So the French had St. Helena, and they also had the French quarters, and they had Quebec. This is the true history. So no Indians were being taken from Canada except for those that were mixed. That's why you see all these Canada Indians enslaved in the Carolinas, specifically South Carolina. So the corridor and the 40 acres and the mule is only for the corridor. If you don't got family from there, you really shouldn't have the discussion of African slave history with 40 acres and a mule, because you completely lied to yourself. That's Gwale Yamasi, Yuchi, Escamaku, Kiyoki, Catawba, Kusaba, Winehand, and all kind of other Indians that lived in that area, bro. So it's almost like, Sam, what I want to say to you, bro, please don't debate nobody else with what you got going on, bro. Because, see, that's how you burn out. That's how you burn out, bro. Don't BTB and burn out, bro. Because I was on the same path you was on. I had the same groove you had, bro. And I'm telling you right now, with what you doing, bro, you can't be stopped. I wouldn't pay nobody else no attention, bro. Nobody else any attention, bro. Just keep doing what you doing. Laugh, bro, and keep dropping gems. That's the best thing that's gonna happen for you, bro. Debating anybody don't hold no weight when they come to you, my brother. I'm just letting you know right now that you on another level. See, you took what I was trying to do, and you did that, my boy. And you need to understand that about yourself. What other niggas was trying to do with this right here, you did that, my boy. I couldn't even get this shit together, and I watched you come around. You ain't even been here a whole year, and you done did that shit, my dog. Don't debate nobody else, bro. I don't give a damn what it's about. Keep dropping these gems, my boy. This right here this right here tells how Mississippi and Alabama get sold off. You know what I'm saying? This right here tells how Tennessee, Kentucky, Idaho, goddamn Indiana, and all them other states that was in Indian territory from the British Proclamation line come into existence. Because, see, what you finna run into is the Virginia Yazoo and South Carolina Yazoo company that was created that brought all they so-called mixed children and slaves with them that were all Indians. They paper apprentices. Because when you go look at the Tuscarora War, you look at the Yamasee War, you find out that all them Indians went on a paper apprenticeship. So who was an African slave if everybody's an apprentice getting paid and buying land in every other state they move in because they farmers, blacksmiths, and all kind of other things? Bro, keep teaching this, bro. I'm telling you, you on the right path. I'm talking about you on the path that everybody else wanted to neglect, my boy. Nobody want to talk about this right here because it goes to show you that we ourselves ain't never been friends to ourselves, bro. That's what you're doing. You making everybody prove that point that we ain't always been united, just like the Africans ain't either. And this right here gonna make people unite. This right here gonna make people get themselves together because they gonna realize, boy, from my area, boy, it was people doing messed up things to other people in other areas. I'm from Augusta. Augusta sold off all these people lands going west, all the way to Montezuma. They don't know this by now. That's why I teach this history. That's why I jumped on the Savannah River, because I couldn't teach you nothing about Mississippi except for how it was sold. The Yazoo Land Lottery Act is real. Bro, keep teaching, bro. Don't ever stop teaching. I don't care what a nigga got to say about you or I don't care what they do. Keep teaching, bro. Please, bro. Don't let these folks burn you out with arguments, bro. When right now, bro, you giving these folks what they asking for. Besides, we know the truth, and Rashad, bro, you doing your fucking thing, bro. Now I'm telling you, like, you doing it, bro. Don't stop.
Appreciate that, man. Nah, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the game. You went, man. Please, you levels are higher than I am. I'm getting game from you. And I look up to you just like I look up to some of the other folks out here, man. And no, no, and I knew I had heard, and I'm gonna say what's up to a couple people there. C3, I see what you said. Yeah, you did say this on code. I see you out there. What's happening? And I'm gonna let Tyron get his word in real quick too. But nah, like this subject right here, I don't know I mean, I know what led me to the Southeast, and it just so happens, but I'm really noticing this is like a real pivotal area for a lot of shit. that I've been studying over some time, and don't get me wrong, there's some shit that happened up north and other places too, but I'm definitely seeing the kind of shit that kind of happened during down here in the South, and this is kind of the coast would be where it started. So yeah, it makes sense.
Where do you get the 1763 Oconee War, 1785 Revolution War? It's still the Oconee War. And this is how the Altahama River in the bottom, and this is where they divide the Appalachian Mountains. Well, one side was the 13 colonies, and the other side was Indian territory till you got over the French territory. See, people don't be knowing these things. The French and Indian Wars fucked everything up for other folks in the area, and the British and the English was able to do the whole goddamn conquer and divide deal through Mataha and all them other fake ass Indians who wanted to get rid of niggas out of their land. See, this was the French and the Spanish selling out the Indians by playing friends with them. See, you like I'm telling you, bro. When you really start getting into it, bro, you gonna say, "Ain't no way." And people just wanna argue every day about what? Hey, bro, you say you come from this tribe. Are you part of this family? Your folks went to Arkansas. Your folks sold us out. Fuck what you talking about. I look, and I don't be meaning to be disrespectful to people that's out there like that. But boy, your folks were the rich Indians who left the poor warriors behind. So just
Well,
keep reading that shit, bro.
yeah.
To get back to the point that you were cooking with from that book that you were reading from, they possibly kidnapped like child soldiers, I believe, and you can pick up Almond Willa Lauber's book where he talks about like many of these colonists were snatching up children from these areas and training them to be soldier slaves to go into these different areas and kidnap these people in the slavery. And that's an insight that most people look over. That wouldn't be considered like a primary, but it would be definitely a secondary when talking about Indian slavery within the Haitian Carolina time period.
Okay. Yeah, and I got a several sources from them talking about the Indian slavery, talking about Indian slavery from that coast, whether they sending them back and forth to the West Indies, whether they're just enslaving them there on the land, whether it's Yamasi selling some people to other people, whereas other people selling other people, not just Yamasi. And Yamasi was doing it. Yamasis was a badass tribe. Like they was the most feared. They not the most, but at least in the southeast, they were up there. You know what I'm saying? And every book that I keep reading, people keep referring to these fit the fear, the strong Yamasis, the ancient Yamasis, and how fearful they are of them. So much so that they had to go get other tribes to really defeat the Yamasi. Had to go, and it really is the same thing today. It's like they got to go get some niggas to defeat the niggas, in a sense. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
they hired during that 1715 period, they were hiring Negroes that were like mercenaries at the time, and their allies of the Yamasi would be the Shigal Indians or the people of modern day Sugar Creek in North Carolina. You would also have the Choctaw that was allies with the Yamasi, and there was a brief ally with the Tuscarora, but they also turned on the Yamasis during that time period. And what most people don't realize is if you go up to Gistor, yeah, that website, and type in all these different types of names within those areas, it'll inform you of like the different communities that these people were formed around, such as the Abaya Gula and things of that nature. What TBA Adams is talking about.
Okay, yeah, and I was just on JSTOR. That's where I was looking at one of the books. I didn't really like the book that I was looking, but I've been to JSTOR and seen several different other books. Not to just be anything against JSTOR. That's just, but I was in there today. So yeah, I know what you're talking about. What's up, C3?
What's going on?
Hey, y'all. Hey, I wanted to come up and say TV is right. You know, because he even told me the same thing. You know, don't let these people, get to you, get under your skin, try to debate you, get you up on your panel so you can do the hooting and hollering and going the back and forth because it's draining. And it takes away from our people. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah,
Mm,
TV is completely right. And then when he talked about like the sellouts and whatnot, when he was saying that, It took me back to when I just went off on Give Me Five for gloating about coming from a sellout line. Like he literally,
Yeah, that
chief put nine. I don't even want to call that nigga a chief.
Yeah,
Grey Lord, LaFleur, Matumbali, all the motherfuckers that signed these damn treaties. That had to be the ancestors. Everybody's ancestors just coming and just using me to speak because I went the fuck off on him. Like, how the fuck you gloating about coming from a sellout line and being a sellout and proud that your ancestors signed the treaties to put us on a trail of tears? Like, I went the fuck off that day.
he and Khalil and No More Tulo was doing that shit. Like it was trying to jump on me when I was on one of these lines. He said something to the effect that the Yamasis are traitors and they're sellouts and they're using the same talking points as Dean Miller Marine, right?
No, so, the Yamasis are not sellouts. From what I've seen, the
yeah,
Yamasis
no,
kicking ass.
yeah, no.
The same thing you said, that you just said, Samuel, about the Yamasis being fierce warriors. Up until them sellout people that claiming to be Choctaw did that shit, they said the same thing about our tribes, the Chickasaws and the Choctaws, how it was hard to defeat them. The tribes in the South.
Yep.
You know what's so special about this conversation right now, right? Is that we can actually prove that Bush Mataha was a Frenchman who ran to the Spaniards. He was not an actual Indian because this man says things like he's the child of the sun. Now he doesn't know his parent. He was birthed from a tree that was struck by lightning. Like, listen here, bro. You find when I saw that shit or to tell somebody. Listen, this man, like the Choctaws were running around with the French and got into it with two separate groups of Indians, the Catos and another tribe. He ended up getting stranded, running to the Spaniards, living with them for 5 to 7 years, then came back and fought the Creeks, the Osages, the Chickasaws, and enslaved other Indians on his warpath. He's the reason why Oklahoma, North Texas, and Arkansas even became the territory that Indians were going to go to. So when people be running around here calling these Indian chiefs, and then we realize that these folks don't look nothing indigenous, they look just like the French and the Spanish people that were already here. Now we have a problem, right?
Yeah.
Because see, when we go all the way back and we look at Yamasee history, it starts in 1526. Man, they said that in that book I was telling you about too. St. Augustine as well, amongst the Timbuktu people and all other people, right? This is how these folks even get up to Georgia to St. Helena Island. If you go back and look at 1597, 1599, when the Yamasee first started actually warring with the Spanish, it was because the Spanish called them bad Christians. They were taking all their women and children. And the Yamasee started smashing things. The Yamasee were the people they were calling the Hispanicized Indian, while the English couldn't even build a colony properly in Georgia.
Well, and
Y'all forget about those Indians, right? Because you don't know about Harlem, Georgia, or West Bank.
oh yeah, no, yeah, and a lot of that is really what I've been finding. As I've been doing a lot, and these, as they say here, we're gonna get to it in this story right here. It's the inhabitants of Wale and Chicora that defeated the Spanish here, and those inhabitants would likely be Yamasis. They don't actually say the name of who these people are in the books that I've read, but the Yamasis are in this area. But now Tariq, he says it was the black slaves that did a revolt that made the Spanish give up and take off to the islands. But that's not what this says here. We're gonna see there. Now I'm gonna give we really want to stay on the topic, but I'm gonna allow these two people who just came up to say a couple of words to see what they're gonna get into, and then we'll go there. We'll start off with Boatwright.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
All right.
Hey, I'm loving the conversation. My bad.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, back. Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm just wanted to see if y'all could shoot me some more information on where y'all getting these books from and everything. Because I'm doing some research. I just checked through my census. I checked through I think it was the 1860 census. And I was looking at my sixth great grandmother, and labeled her mulatto. But then I was looking at everybody else around her, and everybody's labeled mulatto on that sheet. So that started my transformation of how I was thinking. But it seems like a lot of stuff was told backwards. You know what I mean? And so I just wanted to, just join up, say, hey, I appreciate the conversation. Just want to see if y'all could shoot me some sources in chat.
Well, yeah, that's what's up. Us, I'll probably have you drop down. People will probably shoot you some sources, and you can stay on the live. I'll have several of them today that we're going to be talking about. And but your best resource is to go to archive.org, and you can do a lot of searching for tons of books there. And, you may not know exactly where to start. There's tons of books, but whatever you got questions about. If you want to look up stuff about Christopher Columbus, be like, start there. Start looking up Columbus, and then go to other explorers depending on what you're looking for. But I appreciate that, and I mean, and but let me see what Bayou Native. What's up with you?
What's going on, panel? When people them say that the Yamasi was sellouts, they don't know what they're talking about. That was not dealing with the whole nation. That was a certain village that partake in the slave trade. That's what most people don't know. You hear a lot of people talk, oh, it was sellouts. No, it was a certain village that did that. It was not the whole nation. So when you hear people talk about, oh, the Yamasi are sellouts, no, the Yamasi were not sellouts. That was a particular village that did the slave trade.
And I get what you're saying, and to be honest, I'm from what I've read and what I got screenshots of the books. I did see the Yamasi, not all, but of course it doesn't tell you which ones. But I did see the Yamasis having slaves or selling them back and forth sometimes. But some of in many cases, they were selling some of the colonists that they was taking from, like the Charlestown fort. So like they would break into the fort. In fact, the last one, actually, I can actually show that one. I got a letter here that talks about the Yamasis of all the Indians were the first that began the war attack with the English and unalived many of them in cold blood. So they would have every time I find things about the Yamasis, they were always going against the white folks. In fact, when the Yamakra broke away from the Yamasee, the Yamasee stole the daughter of or sold the daughter of Tomochichi to the YT folks to try to entice them to try to go with them against the YT folks, because the Yamakras was pretty much COONs. So and they and
But just like I said, it was a different
hold on,
village.
allow me to finish what I was saying. And I wouldn't say there's a different village. The Yamakra would be are banished Yamasees. So they're not even Yamasees at that point, but they are Yamasees to a degree. But the Yamakras are banished Yamasees, and anybody that's banished would have been banished because they were bad folks. They either were doing something violent. I got that stuff in books as well. So they were banished Yamasees who Oglethorpe came up to the shores and started helping, giving them supplies. He started giving them guns and started giving them some liquor, a bunch of rum and stuff like that. So he liquored up and armed up, banished Yamasi members. And it doesn't say that the Yamakras were selling people into slavery. That's why I stopped you there. It doesn't say that the Yamakras was doing the selling. It does say the Yamasi, at least the things that I've read. But the people that they were selling wasn't like it was something against them. In many cases, it was selling a lot of colonists. Sometimes they did sell some Indian tribes, but in many cases it'd been because they was warring. We were warring. Sometimes tribes war with each other, and you might sell those into some slavery, but it didn't really happen a lot because most of the books a lot of times said that a lot of us didn't have any kind of harsh punishments like that as far as laws and stuff like that. So it just really kind of depends. But a lot of times, most of the stuff that I saw from the Yamasees, they was taking a lot of people from the colony. But go ahead.
Actually, young man, I didn't say that it was the Yamacraw. I did not say that. Even though the Yamacraw was a part of the village that was right there off of the savannah, but there was another village that partook in the slave trade dealing with selling other Indians. That's what I was speaking about. I did not say the Yamacraw.
See what I learned about those Yamasee that was selling other Indians, they got classified as Cherokees along the way. So when a lot of people was trying to figure out how Yamasee became slaves to Cherokee, I went and did some research on that. A lot of our old Chessie villages, old Kyoki and old Yamasee villages, like the Rika Haken villages and a lot of the Kangari villages, even a few Kasaba villages. All of them got turned into Cherokee villages, bro. Like most of the people who ended up with the Cherokee title were already slave raiders in the South. Like people keep thinking these folks come from the Iroquois, and they don't. These are old ancient Creek and Itsamaya towns that were turned into Cherokee towns, bro. And it's literally, you can look at all the old maps and look at how Virginia changed the way the maps were, and the Spanish had the maps another way. During that same time, the Spanish had the Indian towns, the English changed them to African towns. And this is where all these different Cherokee villages pop up at. And this is what a lot of people don't know, that a lot of y'all Cherokee ancestors were ancient Creeks, Uchis, and Yamasees, and all kind of other stuff. That's why some of them chiefs named Yamasee Unalive. Like you can go back and not Yamasee Unalive, but Cherokee Unalive. You can look at some of the Yamasee chiefs' names who were either enslaved or end up signing a treaty, and their name literally say Cherokee Unalive because these were the people that turned their backs on them and built the new nation. Like it's access genealogy is in the archive. Like it's literally there. It'll show you how those who had that was messing around with the French and the English and would not stay amongst their tribe. These were the people that started slavery. All the other Indians didn't do it; they fought.
And right here, you're looking at a letter that actually in that red it says, "But are and will be continually," it says, "unaliving and enslaving the inhabitants of the province and robbing them of their slaves and their cattle." So, as you can see here, the Yamasi in this letter in the 1700s is enslaving Carolinians or Charlestonians, if you will, or Charlestown folks, and enslaving those folks while at the same time taking their slaves away from them. But if you got something else to say about you native, then I got to get back to what I'm kind of getting at here, because I'm not really sure what you. I guess you thought we were shit. I guess you thought we were shitting on the Yamasee, but we're not shitting on the Yamasee. In fact, me and C3 are kind of together with Chief Sekou on co-writing a book and stuff about the Yamasee. So it's not something we do.
Oh, Samuel, can I show something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your books. Yeah. Look, y'all. Look, y'all. Y'all get y'all American Indian coloring book. The link's in my bio. And what also just came in is the children's book.
Oh. Oh, nice.
Y'all get link in the bio.
Yeah.
It's in the bio.
Hold up.
Link is in the bio, guys. I got a link tree, so both links is in the bio.
Wow, that looks amazing.
Even got a glossary in the back.
Wow, now I like that. I like that. I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, hey, look, I'm gonna say one.
My bad, y'all. I got a call. Go ahead, TV.
If y'all go back and read some of the early 1700 treaties through the mid 1700s with the so-called Creeks, you will notice that the one problem the YT people had or the Europeans had was people that wasn't going against the Indians and that were really afraid of the Indians getting knocked off in mass numbers. Like you gotta actually read the treaties to see that when they say the Yamasees were the most ferocious, because bro, when they hit a village, everybody gone.
Yeah, men and children, women, children, all.
Taking the rest of the people are smacked. So when I be trying to tell people like, hey, listen, if you don't know who the most ferocious Indians are in the Americas, then you really missing the historical point of why Georgia had to sell off these other states. This was the real Indian Removal Act was to rename your land and put you under another jurisdiction and another government. Because as long as you was running around up under the Indians that they really erased from history, you was never gonna be a so-called civilized Indian, bro. You notice that they erased the Uchesi, the Kyoki, the Yamasee, the Kusabo, and a few other Indians, including the Congaree. When you start reading the history, you start realizing, like, boy, they was really smacking these folks, like, by the numbers.
Yeah,
by
yeah.
the thousands.
So yeah. Um,
So just go back and read the treaties about the violence that was going on. Then y'all will understand, bro. Like, boy, the Indians were really, really ruthless. There's no way that a Native American could ever tell me he come from these people. When I would used to watch my grandmama them whoop on police.
yeah.
I'm gonna say
Well,
this last thing, and I'm gonna let you. You can take me off the big screen. I have a link tree now, so both links. You click the link tree, and you can go to either one of the links to both books. Black American Indian Coloring Book for the children. That's something to color book, the coloring, and Iski Apokni Hosh. My grandmother told me, and the reason why I created this book, y'all, is because so many people been on this app disrespecting our grandmothers and whatnot. There's no telling how many of our children heard that. So I created this book because it talks about honoring your grandmother's story, your family history. Let me read this one
C3,
page.
what does Hosh
It's my
mean?
favorite page.
What does Hosh mean?
That's just that's like putting the whole sentence together. This part right here, Sapokni said, everyone has their own oral history, and to never forget our story, and to never let his story be your story, because his story is not your story. This is going to be the most important page. Then I have some blank pages right here.
And see, I asked that.
Grandma.
I asked
Let
that
grandma
because
write that oral history on the back of the book for your children.
I asked that because Haile Kohio, he was known as Haile Kohio Hash. So that's the first time I've seen Hash used in a different kind of way.
Look back. You can go ahead and take me down. I'm about to go grab my pizza.
All right, but yeah, okay, nah,
Be as big as my
uh,
back.
and y'all really got to get the book. I got this one, and I'm gonna definitely get the next one. So make sure y'all hit Oh, hold on, you cutting out.
Shout out to y'all.
She said she
I'm
wanted
working
to.
on my own like project too for Sekou. I'm working on a cartoon. Well, it's not even a cartoon. It's like Muppet style.
I get it. I'm posting that to my story. Shout out to you. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Okay, so well, we're gonna get back into this 1526 business. And I'm gonna have to refresh the minds and update the folks on what we're really talking about here today, which is debunking the 1526 ethnogenesis, FBA came here, whatever flag that they talk about. Well, let's go back just so people know. We're talking about the official FBA website that says Lucas Vasquez de Alian brought over some black slaves in 1526, which is their whole reason for having this 1526 on their fucking flag. So if it's not that important, you wouldn't be putting it on your flag, right? So if I debunk it, are they gonna change the flag, or do you think they just gonna rock with it? I think they just gonna rock with it. I said I can't wait until mine comes. I want. Oh yeah, she's talking about C3 book. But yeah, so uh yeah, these so basically this is what they talking about. So are they going to debunk? If it gets debunked, will they will they concede and change? I doubt they will. But the next thing that's on here that they talk about is that there was a slave revolt. Now he says, hey, these enslaved black people courageously revolted against the captors. Let me make that a little bit bigger. Courageously revolted against the captors, leading to the collapse of the Spanish settlement. So they're saying that the whole reason why it even collapsed was because of these slaves. Now that's pretty funny because when you read the actual primary sources, and I wouldn't even call this a primary source, this would be more secondary, but it's at least closer to the primary source than that bullshit he's talking about, because this is from 1670, I think. But we'll have to go look in books around the 1500s to get the real, which we will. But in this book, though, let me give him a little pointer. In this book, you'll see where it says after they went to Chicora and Waldape, we right here, it says by them they called Cabo de Saint Helena and Rio Jordan, where the natives looked upon the ships as sea monsters, and seeing bearded men in them fled. The Spaniards pursuing them overtook the man and a woman who were well entertained and clad in Spanish habits, made the strangers so acceptable of the countrymen that their king sent 50 men aboard from them with provisions and to invite the seamen to his dominions. So what I'm getting to here, we're gonna get this ain't where they're talking about the what you call it. We're about to get to that about the revolt. But this is talking about how what they were doing. Like they basically took a couple of folks, almost acted like they was gonna steal them, but then started cladding them in Spanish stuff, Spanish clothes, whatever, treating them good, and then it kind of enticed the Indians to get a little bit closer. Now we're gonna jump down toward that revolt, and I think it's down here. Blah blah. Let's see, retreat. Yeah, where he had to found the retreat right here. Let me show you right here. Now this is where the revolt happened. So after they encouraged them to come through, they did some whatever stuff up there. We'll come down here and it says, for some years, after Vasquez receiving letters patent from the court of Spain for the government of Florida, fitted out a ship thither in 1620. I really think they mean 1520 there, which brought a good return of gold, silver, and pearls. Notice they talking about pearls right there. Whereupon he himself went not along after, and coming into the river Jordan, lost one of his ships, which provided not the worst accident, or it proved not the worst accident for landing 200 men. 200 men. People say he had more. They were all of them either slain. So after he landed there with 200 men, they were all either I'm trying to remove this. They were all either slain or wounded by the inhabitants, so that Vasquez was forced to retreat. And after that, the Spanish were less willingly drawn to the coast, to that coast, and rather because that inhabitants seemed poor and had little gold, but what they procured from the Otopales and the Alugudanos, whatever their name is, 60 leagues northward up to the country. But basically, what I wanted to show you that is you have Vasquez being defeated by the Floridians. It literally says Vasquez defeated by the Floridians right here. Okay. So it doesn't say that black slaves caused the revolt that made them retreat. It says they were defeated by the inhabitants. So when I'm saying like, I'm trying to figure out. So as I'm going through this, I'm trying to figure out where the hell did to reread this as I'm reading this in the story. So again, just so y'all know, I was reading through this book, unbeknownst to me, Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon was in it. As I read through it, I start thinking about what the FBA website says. As I run into both situations where one, they're getting slaves. It does mention them getting slaves, but they're getting African slaves. Whoops, not that. They're getting African slaves. And then two, it talks about the revolt, but it doesn't say the revolt was done by slaves. It literally says the inhabitants, which should be Yamasis in that coast, are the ones that actually, you know what I'm saying, are the ones that basically defeated the Spanish. So now that got me going. That got me going at that point, because then I started to wonder, what are all the primary sources that even list Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon? First, I started looking for Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon books. That doesn't exist. So it's not like he wrote his own journal or whatever the case may be that I found. So when you look up in Google, what are the primary sources? You have Peter Martyr de Angleria, which I have that book, which is called De Obra Novo. You got I'll say the last now, Ovida y Valdez. You got his, you got Alonso de Chavez, and you also got Gomara. Now, three of these people I've heard. I never heard of Chavez, but his book just says it has some navigation information in there. So I was like, okay, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna pull up the books. You know what? I'm gonna pull up the books and then look for Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon in the book. Now, what's cool about this is when I actually got here, it should be listed. There it is. I realized, one, there's Lucas Vasquez's name in the book, but two, I realized I had read this same page before because it's talking about Chicora. And I actually got, and there's Francisco de Chicornas. Where did I even learn about this book? Let me show y'all. So when Data Island, when I was looking into the Gullah Geechees back in the day, the Geechees, I hate saying Gullah. When I was looking into the Geechees back in the day, Queen Quet had a video where she talked about her people, and as you can see, there's a book there. Queen Quet had a thing where a video where she talked about her people coming from Dartha Island and Palawana Island, and she said that her mom's side was Palawama and her dad's side was Dartha, if I remember correctly.
And this is a source from the International African American Museum. I went there at opening day, and they talk about Yamasi as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we're not on the Yamasi right now, but I don't know.
But this source right here, I got a screenshot from like going up into the museum opening day, and they basically try and say that this is the first time Africans were brought into the New World, and the what's that? The genealogist within the International African American Museum, her name's Shelley Murphy, the same one that did the genealogy of Victor Blackwell and said that uh, what's that man's ancestor? I think it was it started with a B or something like that, but his ancestors resembled the Mattaponi Indians because in the genealogy of his records, they said somebody looked at him and gave a specific term about the Mattaponi, which she was argumentative over the term Indian because she was on that Pan-African stuff. But when I pressed her about this whole Yamasi stuff, what have they learned or researched about it, they were trying to say that, it couldn't have been black people as these people. But she was over here saying that we have the records of 1526 here, and that's the first known evidence of Africans arriving here. So why can't y'all just settle for that? And I find it odd because it came out right around the same time Tariq Nasheed started putting out this FBA stuff.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, and ain't no telling where exactly he got this 1526. Now, big text down here, big text that says that. So I'm looking for a gotcha moment. There's nothing that has to be a gotcha moment. Only idiots want to continue to believe a lie. And when people show you that it was a complete lie, only an idiot would continue to sit here and say, well, you looking for a got you moment? No, I'm looking for the truth. And in fact, I was following him for a while, and I'm pretty mad that I didn't look it up like you didn't, like your dumb ass did. Okay. And then you're sitting here asking me, where am I from? Sir, we have family trees. Our family trees go way, way back, 1700s. Okay, so I don't know who the hell you are other than some FBA weirdo. But yeah, nobody gives a damn. So let's get back into the into the whole situation here. So Dogtown Island. Uh so I learned about Dogtown Island and Palawana Island because Queen Quet said her folks was from there. And that also pissed me off because I was also like, well, then you should know how indigenous you are. But regardless of that, when you look here, this is the Dalta Island website. I started doing history on there. There's the word Dalta in there. What is it on? It's on the same page as Lucas Vasquez, right? Same page. And let's see what that page says. Now, it was really just one paragraph, so it ain't going to obviously talk about Africans. But if you want to know what it says a certain Spaniard named Lucas Vasquez de Aliana, man of authority among the settlers, administered affairs in those regions and dealt with the inhabitants and colonists. Through such men, the Spaniards extended their settlements and brought many lands under cultivation. The inhabitants and the newcomers traded and with one another, learned the customs of each other or whatever. It's really simple. All that is telling me is okay. Well, first source is debunked, or not debunked, is down that he couldn't have learned that there were some Africans that were brought here. It's not a primary source there. So the next thing we're going to go to is Oviedo or whatever, right? So I found now that's Gomara. We found Oviedo right somewhere. Here it is. Ovida de Valadez, whatever, right? So when we go and look up Lucas in the book, it's got a few different things. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the full translations, as you do see. Lyciendo Lucas Vasquez de Alian. He was a licentate, or he was a person, like like a person you go to get that licenses out people to be able to go to the Indies. You would get a license from him. Uh, and but it says right here, if you want to read this, you can. But I can basically tell you, it doesn't talk about anything about there being an African, anything about really about the voyage on this book. So the 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 Valdez book didn't even talk about it. Now the Gomara book, it didn't really talk about much about him either. It talked about Lucas Vasquez in here, as you can see right there, Lucas Vasquez de Alian. Okay. And as I did this, you also got him talking about Chikora. We know we're talking about the right location, all that, but you also still do not see, talking about the Jordan River, you do not see African slaves. You do not see him talking about going to Africa before he makes some things. You don't see none of that in here. So that's second source down that he couldn't have read that said that there was an African being brought, or it don't even talk about black slaves. It don't even talk about none of that in that particular book, to be honest with you. In fact, I actually looked up if Africa was in there. I spelled it with a K and I spelled it with a C to see if it's even anywhere in the book. And they don't even talk about it anywhere in the books. And I was doing that on several of these books. I did that on this book here. We got Lucas. I looked up, and I think I looked up Africa. I don't know if I screenshotted it. I may not have screenshotted it, but I looked that up too. So what we want to get to is show is basically out of the four, I only showed three because the fourth one, Alonzo, it just has geographical information in it. So I'm not really caring about that. But out of the four primary sources that talk about uh Lucas Vasquez de Alian, neither one of them talk about him having any kind of black slaves or whatever. The only one is not a primary source, and that's the one that I was showing y'all, which is from 1670, which talks about the whole Lucas Vasquez de Alian thing too. But it also makes me wonder, where did they get their information about Lucas Vasquez de Alian if not from the same sources? How are they adding to it? Now, the book of Hernando de Soto also talks about the Lucas Vasquez de Alian expedition, and that would be from the early 1500s. I actually need to go reread that page, that whole section about him, but I definitely know that when I was looking at it, it didn't talk about no African slaves. I had read that shit before, so but it just popped up in my head that was in there. But main things to take from here is that's a lie. So okay, so if the let me pull up the actual thing here. When you Google does, because then I just said fuck it. Did Lucas Vasquez de Alian have Africans on his voyage? Let's just ask Google. Google says yes. Google says yes. Now, why would Google say yes? Well, you got to look at its sources. Now, who wrote these sources? You have the Enchanted Learning source, you have the Zen Project, and you have South Carolina Encyclopedia. Now, South Carolina Encyclopedia, I already showed you a source from them. Let me first show you real quick. The source I'm going to show you here is this one right here, South Carolina Encyclopedia. Whoops. The South Carolina Encyclopedia. And so with the South Encyclopedia, this right here doesn't say anything about Lucas Vasquez de Alian going to Africa or anything about black slaves or anything of the sort. This is from South Carolina. Let me see if I can still have that actually up. I may not have that up. The reason why I say that, because this is another excerpt about San Miguel del Guadalupe. This one does talk about African slaves. So this one does talk about African slaves right here. But why does the San Miguel del Guadalupe South Carolina excerpt talk about African slaves, and the one right here, which is talking about it's talking about Chikora or something? I gotta go find the goddamn thing that I typed in for this. Or I think it's just talking about Lucas Vasquez de Alian. Let me see if I can find it so y'all don't think that I'm bullshitting you real quick.
Right? And listen, you will really have to find it because I sent it to your inbox exactly what to talk about. You know, they landed on the PD River where the PD Indians were when they first got into Chikora. So they went up the PD River. They went past a lot of the other Indians. They abducted 70 of them. 70. And Alien made them free them folks after he went to the council of the whoever about them folks taking those 70 children.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Isn't that the Spanish Borderland book? You know the Borderlands of the Spanish.
Mm.
If that's the same book you read, bro. I'm gonna send you a couple of to your inbox so you can see. But what you like, see what it is. Every time the Spanish abducted Indians, they were told to return the Indians, but there are no records of them ever returning the Indians. They don't know if the Spanish ever returned the Indians.
Mm.
That's been the whole problem with the history of the Spanish, because the Spanish has no records of returning the Indians back as they were told.
Mm.
Just
Mm.
keep like I'm gonna send you the book, bro. You're gonna be like, oh. That's where all your African slaves come from, the children that was kept by the Spanish, and that's why the English started their apprenticeship. Literally, the English mimicked the Spanish.
Oh, Samuel. No, oh no, no. What
Mm.
was his name? Lucas. Did he ever breed more in his expedition and have bastard children with these Indians? Is what they're saying, or are they just kidnapping?
Oh no, it definitely says the Moors of Spain could it was no more people. Their people were none of their people were left in Egypt, so they couldn't get none of the stuff that they wanted. So they started attacking the Americas, trying to find their way to India.
Nah,
But
but
they never
yeah.
got to make it to India. They were stuck here in America.
So yeah, I mean, and you make a good point because there was something I was reading that somebody has feedback. There was some I was reading that said that that Lucas Vasquez, that Allianz, something about he wasn't supposed to be doing an encomiendo over there, and it was some I was just reading. But there was a whole lot of things about the Spaniards being against enslaving the Indians, and but there was times that people were doing it and they would get in trouble. There was another explorer. I don't. It was either Elion or was it somebody else? It might have been Elion, but I think it was somebody else. But they were sent back there in order to try to kind of handle the whole situation. Like people were over there doing some enslaving a little bit, and the Spaniards sent somebody over there to basically break that shit up, in a sense. But I can't remember what that was off of. But I get exactly what you're saying. But yeah. So here's this. So this is the actual first Lucas Vasquez de Alian, South Carolina encyclopedia thing. Now, this one doesn't say anything about the word Africa, a slave. Let me just prove to y'all the word Africa is not on here. Africa is not on there, right? I just typed it in there. No Africa in here. So if Lucas Vasquez, their Allianz page doesn't talk about it, and here's the sources they use to discuss Lucas Vasquez de Allianz, which they're not primary sources either. This is 1992, 1990, and a 1979 source. So I don't know what's up with that. But when you go to the source about the same place that he actually created, or established, was called San Miguel del Guadape, which was the Wale area. This one all of a sudden is mentioning some about African slaves. But what are their sources? Well, same sources almost. 1990, 1956, and a 1979. And I actually said, you know what? Let me pull up those sources. Now, this first one, the a new Andalusia, I couldn't pull that one up. You got to buy the book. I tried to find it all kind of different ways. You got to buy it. But the other two, I pulled those up. Let me see if I still have a screenshot from them. Let's see. Here's one of them. Lucas Vasquez de Alian Doom Colony of San Miguel del Guadalupe. That's one of them? Let me see. Is that one of them? No, not that's not one of them. The land called Chicora, the Carolinians. Let me see. Hold up. I looked them up. Whether or not I took the screenshot of them, we'll look them up right now. Fuck it.
Bro, when you get done with this part, please check your inbox to see if that's that book real quick.
I'll try to see if I can do that because I'm on. Oh well, you know what? I can do it on my phone.
Because see, it's gonna tell you about the 150 children that was Redskins that was taken out of Chicora off the Cape Fear River, which was the PD Indians.
Now, and I'm with that. I might probably do it more toward the end because I do want to stick on the 1526 thing. But I still might do that toward the
That's
end.
it. It's 1521. It's the same story of the land of Chikara and Alien. And I mean, Punch getting kicked out of Florida, him sending one person and the other person finding somebody in the Bahamas who's a slave hunter. They went into Chikora, met amongst the PD Indians, stole possessions from them, and also took 150 of the little Indians and put them on boats and sailed to Saint Domingo with them. Wouldn't that be Hispaniola in your book?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I'm down for going there, but that's going for. I'm trying to really trying to prove the FBA 1526 thing wrong within this live stream. That's gonna take us a little bit further deeper into it, but I'm just trying to at least trying to stick on the fact that there are no African slaves, as well as the slave revolt that they said that happened, and just kind of disproving the 1526. At least the African slave part, but that seems like it's definitely going into more history about. It. Unless you're saying there's African slaves coming in there.
No, what I'm saying is the ones they trying to call African slaves are the it was 70 that was first shown. They came back in 1521 with 150 more. Those slaves were said to be set free, and they never were. It's in the book, literally. So in 1526, when they come from Saint Domingo back to Florida, they come back with those same little Indians.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
For a while. That's why I keep telling you, boy, keep burning. Just keep burning.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's still not going to get on the 1526 for disproving. I mean, it's disproving them to a degree, yeah. But I'm trying to stick with the African part. You know what I'm saying? Disproving that African part. But I see exactly what you're saying because we already said that earlier. I mean, they talked about bringing those slaves from Dominican, but you're saying that they were bringing them back, possibly bringing them back. Because they snatched some folks off the coast. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. I do know that they snatched some folks off the coast at one point. I don't think it was Allion, but I'm gonna have to get into it. I know what you're talking about though. Now, in this particular book, as we go searching through it, as you can see, the word slave is in there. Let me pull it, but let me see if the word Africa is in here real quick. You know what? I can't remember if I actually pulled this one. Again, this would be a modern day source. And with it being a modern day source, it can mention Africa, which is fine. It should tell me where it got its source for Africa from, is what I'm looking for. So I don't really care what it's mentioning per se, unless it's mentioning something plus the source with it. And I've typed in Africa, it's been searching forever. Now, let's see. Talking about slave. Why when I search the word Africa, the word slaves pulls up as if I search for the word slave. And I'm not seeing the word Africa. That's pretty funny. I ain't never seen that. I ain't never seen no search search function give you slave for the word African. But let's see if I tap on it, what it's gonna give me.
What about Negro?
So this ain't even taking me to the pages where it has the word slave on it. Hold on one second. Maybe I broke it. Hold on. Now the whole damn thing is freezing up. Well, so we don't have any a bunch of dead air. Oh, here he comes. Here he comes. Hold up. Now let me try to.
Y'all hit the link in the bio. Put y'all books for y'all babies.
Okay, here we go. Some Africa results right here. So let's see what it says in here about Africa. Now, do I believe that Tariq read this book? Hell no, right? But let's just see what it says. Early in the year 1567, that's not 1521. That's not Lucas Vasquez. The Allianz time. Dominque de Gorre, whatever, who owned a number of ships, resolved to Florida and revenge the insult to his fellow countrymen and to his king. And his undertaking must be executed in secret. He has for clearance to go to Africa to make war against the Negroes. Okay, well, that's not Lucas Vasquez de Allian. It is also well after Lucas Vasquez de Allian, and it ain't even really Okay, it says on the second he sailed from Bordeaux with a fleet of 3 vessels with a complement of 100 arquebusters and 80 sailors, all well armed. He did go to Africa, but from there he sailed from the west for the West Indies and for Florida. He seems to, and they're not talking about Lucas Vasquez, the island. They're talking about somebody else. Um, but he seems to have wandered about quite a bit, trading with the natives. For it was the following in 15th. The main thing I'm getting to as I'm reading this is it talked about a man going to Africa in 1568. Well later, I was like, well, let's see if people came in from Africa then. It don't say he brought no Africans with him. It just says he went to the coast of Africa, then he went over to Florida and started trading with the natives. Let's go over here. African slaves. Okay, we got a page talking about African slaves, the first settlement. Let's just read it. The native Indian population been so reduced by disease and enforced labor that a thriving trade in African slaves has sprung up. Hold on, no, for real. Hold on. Let's read this from the top. In point of time, the end of the first quarter of the 16th century had been reached. Hispaniola had by then developed into a thriving colony. Now we're talking about Hispaniola, exporting such commodities as sugar, cotton, and timber. Gold mining was the principal industry. As we saw, Lucas Vasquez de Alion was taking some people from adjacent islands for the gold mining, right? 4 times a year, the precious ore was melted down, cast into bars, and shipped to Spain. The Native American population had been so reduced by disease and and by enforced labor that a thriving trade in African slaves had sprung up. To say nothing of the slave trade in Caribs, as the native islanders were called, while there's blah blah blah. So, one, let me see. They say there's sources from Peter Martyr. Hold up. But let me see where the number one is listed. Number one is listed as the source. Where's number one listed? If I'm not mistaken, that's the number one right there next to Hope. Right? It won't let me highlight it. The prediction proved to be true, for the inhabitants of the island stocked to or flocked to him as he prepared his armada. Peter Martyr, Decade 2, whatever, De Orbo Novo. We just read Peter Martyr. We read everything about Peter Martyr as far as for Lucas Vasquez. This must be talking about the first settlement for somebody else. And well, it is. Obviously, it is. It's talking about the first settlement in Hispaniola. And they're talking about them bringing in African slaves. I don't, I'd have to go look into that. I don't want to go too far. Okay, my bad. Hold up. I see Lucas Vasquez de Alion right here. Hold up. In the atmosphere of conquest and search for gold, the licensee Lucas Vasquez de Alion prepared his expedition. When Alion received his patent, Peter Martyr predicted, even though that wasn't in Peter Martyr's book, associates will fail him, for the entire Spanish nation is in fact so keen about novelties that people go eagerly where anywhere they are called by a nod or a whistle in the hope of bettering their conditions, and by ready to sacrifice what they have for what they hope. The prediction, blah, blah, blah. So look at this. Now, I'm doing this kind of real time, but this is talking about it's coming from Peter Martyr. Now, we just looked up the big book from Peter Martyr, and in Peter Martyr's book, it only mentions Lucas Vasquez 2 to 3 times. Let me go over here. When you look over here, this is De Orbo Novo, and it only mentions Lucas. Actually, it mentions him 1 time. I'm sorry, it was a different book. This mentions him twice. It mentions his name 1 time, so it ain't like we missed the section. And the reason why I'm stressing that is you gotta ask questions. Where do these people with these modern day books and these modern day things, where do they get their information? And if they don't show where they got the information from, you have to assume that it's being made up. Like you just don't come up with shit off the top of your head about what the hell happened in 1526 or 1514 or whatever the hell. You don't just randomly come up with this shit. You either have to read manuscripts. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a little bit of conjecturing after you've read the manuscripts and after you've read the journals and the books or whatever from the primary sources. Then you do your conjecturing and be like, okay, maybe they meant this, maybe whatever. But as far as not having any source, you said Peter Martyr was your only source, and we looked at Peter Martyr and it didn't say that. Now I have to assume that you're just making it up, and we know that these people make the stuff up. And the reason why I'm stressing this is because these are the only books that even mention African slaves, and we're talking about where did Tariq That's the whole thing for today. Where did Tariq get the information that Africans or black slaves, black people, were brought here by Lucas Vasquez de Alian? Where did he get that information from? He couldn't have read it from a primary source. So if he didn't read it from a primary source and he's supposed to be a historian, that makes him look bad already, because that shows he doesn't even know where to start when it comes into history. If he did read the primary sources and he read the modern sources and decided to go with the modern sources, that shows complicit erasure, because you knew that the primary sources didn't say shit about an African slave, yet you purposely said, I'm going to go with the stories that have no backing, and I'm going to use that to galvanize people for something called FBA. So
Maybe he means 1625, because that's official.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really like Tyron, y'all, and I realized that after I had pulled him up here. Tyron was Tyron was in a live stream, really kind of going back and forth with the whole Prophet thing. I was there. Prophet was and all of them was talking hella shit, and he was in there just giggling and saying that I'm tripping and stuff. And I let his ass know, I see you, I hear you, I see you down there. All right. And when I let him up this time, I started thinking in my head like, why did I let him up? But then in my head, I started to be like, you know what? I'm gonna just ignore it. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm gonna just ignore it and just whatever, you know. But then he kept interrupting, you know, and I really don't care about you. And in fact, you kind of annoyed me for quite some time on other people's panels. Not like personally, like me talking to you, but just me listening to you. I just don't like the way you talk. I don't like the way you butt in conversations. I don't like the way you go on ranting forever and won't let nobody get a goddamn word in as if you really talking about something. A lot of times you change the subject. It's a little bit different, you know. It's just I don't really like you, Tyron. Yeah, I really don't. So it is what it is, player. Anyways, back to the goddamn facts. um, okay, I'm gonna let you up here. Nah, I didn't. But as long as you give me a moment, because I'm really here to cook about this 1526 thing and want to get through that. But I'll definitely let you get some words in. Definitely let you get some words in. But
I'm not gonna lie, that took me out, Sylvia. I was like,
it was pretty bad. It's just like in my head, I was like, yeah, let me just do that. You know what? I don't even need to give you a reason. No, no. Yeah, I'm done. So yeah. Um, so FBA history, if so we didn't see it in those books, and the only other sources that I saw were these other little modern sources. Now here was another little modern source, San Miguel del Guadalupe. It talked about some Indian slaves, 60 tall Indian slaves. It's the only one besides the one we just saw, and the one that we just saw didn't really talk about Elion having no slaves. It was somebody else. But wait a minute, wait a minute, am I tripping? Did I finish that Elion? No, I never finished that Elion's paragraph because he interrupted me. Associates will not fail him, for the entire Spanish nation is in fact so keen about the novelties that the people so eagerly anywhere they are called by a nod or a whistle in the hope of bettering their condition, and are ready to sacrifice what they have for what they hope. This prediction proved to be true for the inhabitants of the islands. Oh yeah, I did finish it. My bad. Alien selected 500 men to go in. Hold on, let me see this. Aliens, the term. Let me see this real quick. Get off the screen. What is going on? Hold on, y'all. I don't know where. Oh, this is Family Search. Let me read this last part real quick. Such and such men, Lucas Vasquez, such and such men probably included one only able-bodied soldiers as slaves, and women were not counted in those days. That doesn't sound pretty sure, or tell me, okay. There were few women on the islands, and most of these were imported white slaves. What? Used along with the best looking of the Indian maidens as wives for the men, as we have later references to Negro slaves as well as the women of and children. It is known that they were in it is known that they were in the party. These may have brought the number up to 600, as mentioned elsewhere. The great number of persons Elion fed at his own expense for more than a year while making ready his expedition in his testimony, blah, blah, blah. Now, I can keep going. I don't want to read this whole thing, and I'm probably going to read through it, but notice they're talking about these same books. The only references they have, it won't let me highlight it, but are down here at the bottom. Peter Martyr, De Angleria, and Oviedo's experience, and we just looked up those. We just looked those up, and this is my thing. These people know you're not gonna check their work. It's almost like a child who's cheating on a test or whatever on a math test. It's like they make you show your work or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They know you're not gonna check. I don't know. I may have said that metaphor wrong, but they know you're not gonna check the work, right? They know we're not gonna check these sources, but they put them there, and then they make up this elaborate story. If what you just typed above was exactly something that happened, it should be in Oviedo's book. It should be in Peter Martyr's book, and that's what I'm just stressing right there. What's up, Gerbil?
Peace, Sam. I'm just up here um, to try to figure out. I just got up here. I just wanted to know what y'all were talking about involving the FBA.
We just going into debunking the 1526 African ethnogenesis thing that is on their website.
Okay, that was my only question. You go ahead.
Okay. So there's these books that these people are putting down here, and these are their sources, but the sources ain't really saying what the book is saying. So you got to ask the question, where I don't know why it does this. You got to ask the question, uh where are they getting the information? If the information is not in the book, did they make it up? And yes, they made it up. Well, if the only sources they talking about Peter Martyr right here. Hold on, they talking about the first settlement, whatever, whatever. Let me go one more page. I'm gonna just go one more page, and I just want to see what the source is. No source listed. Yeah, no source listed. But they're talking about Oviedo's. The title of Oviedo's books, 37 is revealing, blah, blah, blah. And they're talking about Chikora, San Miguel de Guadalupe. I'd have to read further into this. But again, we looked in the books ourselves, in that book ourselves, and we didn't see that. Okay. So in Oviedo's book, which is this is Gomara's book. Oviedo's book was this one right here. And it only has Lucas Vasquez name in there 3 times. It ain't like it was a ton of different shit about Lucas Vasquez. Literally, here's one of the paragraphs, and you'd have to translate it. And that's the translation of part of the paragraph. And then the other paragraph was also somewhere. I think I didn't even save the other paragraph because it wasn't even talking about shit. That's the thing about it. So again, I'm basically going into uh let me show you another one. There was the other voyage right here. That my bad. I was kind of off in my head. So the only other thing that I saw was this one right here that talked about the black slaves, as we seen earlier. Now this said that they was coming from Quejo's voyage. Now Quejo's voyage was before Lucas Vasquez voyage. Lucas Vasquez gave him the license to go do his voyage. But right here, Quejo doesn't have any books listed. In fact, when you look under Quejo, the earliest you're going to find anything is from 1953 with that word or that name in it, supposedly. Now that doesn't search deep within the books, but there's nothing with the title, nothing with the book, Arthur, nothing with that with a name Quejo. So I don't even know where they got this information because I tried to look up more information about Quejo's voyage and I couldn't because I'm one of those people who like to cross all my cross all my T's, dot all my I's. And that doesn't mean that I don't miss things. It's just that I try to find as many things I can before I present this kind of information. Now, here are a few sources that I did see that talked about there being African slaves. Now, this is the Enchanted website, and I'm gonna show y'all real quick. When you Google and ask the question, hey, let me find it again. Did Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon bring African slaves? And it said yes. If I can find it, I probably clicked off of it. Let me go back here. Back here. That ain't it either. Damn it. Damn it. Let me just do it real quick. Did Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon have African slaves? So again, when I was showing this earlier, it said yes right here. What were the actual sources? We got 3 sources: Zen, Facebook. It doesn't switch the sources up because last time it said different sources. Last time it showed the Zen project, and we're going to click on the Zen project. This is the Zen project. Now, what's the Zen project? Who the fuck knows? It's not a official site, but in here it does talk about there being West. It says taken either directly from West Africa right here. San Miguel del Guadalupe was likely located. San Miguel del Guadalupe was likely located the PD River, and that's what TB was just talking about, near the PD River, in what was in now South Carolina. And he had about 600 to 700 people aboard the ship, which the book we saw said 200, but approximately 100 of those were enslaved Africans, the first African people documented to be brought to this land, taken either directly from West Africa through the brutal slave market. So now, when I first saw this, I was like, well, where did you get your sources? Right? Here's their sources. Now, where did they get their sources? Well, one of them is the Washington Post. So obviously that's not credible, right? Who gives a fuck about the Washington Post? I couldn't read it though because it's behind the paywall. But it's the goddamn Washington Post. I didn't give a fuck about that, right? Then I went down and I was like, so what's the next one? The Medium. I think this is behind the paywall. No, it's not behind the paywall. No, it is. It's behind the paywall, but it does allow you to see this. We know more about the history surrounding the Spanish people involved than the black people who got away. Lucas Vasquez de Ayllon received the royal patent in 1523 from King Charles V and the Royal Supreme Council of the Indies. Those who don't know who the Council of the Indies is, that's a whole nother story. Permitting him to establish a settlement on the eastern seaboard. He assembled a fleet of 6 ships, approximately 600 to 700 people, including the slaves, supplied the livestock, pigs, cows, horses, whatever. So I can't see what their sources is, and y'all know they're not gonna have no good sources because I'm not gonna pay them to see this. But this is Medium, right? That's not really a creditable place. But you got Black Past. Black Past mentions that African slaves, and you got to ask, where are these people getting in from? They don't mention any sources, so these people are just repeating what they've heard, and it looks official because somebody done put it on the fucking website. And then you got this right here. I couldn't see this. This is a modern day book, and I'm not gonna buy it. And I'm pretty sure the sources are not gonna be any different. But that's the only one I really couldn't see. Plus those paywalls, and then this one, Black Indian Heritage, and it talks about this. So you don't really have any sources on this one either. So all I'm getting to, and this is what I want, and I'm about to be done pretty much here. But all I'm getting to is if he it's the same thing with the ethnogenesis thing. Where does Tariq get his information? This stuff doesn't just pop into people's heads. Okay, he either read the wrong things on purpose, and I, to be honest, he probably seen one of these more recent sources like Black Past or the Washington Post or some dumb shit, and he went with it from that point. And that's my guess, and that's me being nice, because me not being nice is saying that he's in a think tank with people who are against us, and they're feeding him these particular things like ethnogenesis, plebiscite 1526, continental Africans. Now that's a phrase he started using, you know what I'm saying? And it's not that I'm against using the term continental African, but it's basically like saying that there's other Africans that aren't continental Africans. Now, in a sense, that would be saying an African that's a more recent like immigrant. But in most cases, they're usually the way that I see it from the mouth of Tariq Nasheed is he's trying to say they're continental Africans. I'm an African descent, but American, not continental kind of person. And so these things is just like we you know we just basically got to start looking further into where does Tariq get these terms that he uses. You know what I'm saying? Especially the plebiscite one. I had to look up the whole thing about plebiscite, and then you there was a video of a lady. I wish I still had it. I'm thinking about it in my head. There's a video of a lady that used the term plebiscite, but she was using it in the right way. Now, I saw this a long time ago and I didn't know she was using it in the right way, but it was on TV. The dude was telling her, asking her, "Hey, if you want to change things in your community, blah, 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 what would you do?" She was like, "Well, we would form a plebiscite." And that was the first time I had ever heard anybody but Tariq use that word. And I was like, form a plebiscite. But now I know what a plebiscite is. A plebiscite is the common people coming together to discuss about a topic that's already been decided upon. Meaning, if something, as the guy was asking that lady, he was like, "Well, what would you do to try to, get some practices, uh, some laws overturned, or whatever the case?" His question was, well, she was like, "Well, we will form a plebiscite." And blah 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 blah. Now I know what she meant. Okay, we would come together and discuss this topic that has already been decided upon to see what we need to do further from there. And we're the common people. So now you got to wonder, what is plebiscite babble? Well, plebiscite babble is the common people coming together and babbling, according to him. You know what I'm saying? And so my thing is with Tariq is nobody gets these talking points from nowhere. You like ethnogenesis, you had to read some book about ethnogenesis. You're not just coming up with the word ethnogenesis off the top of your head out of nowhere. I just don't see it. So I've already, and let me just say this, I've already proven he don't read books like that. Right. Yeah. Now I don't want to say I already proven it, but like when I asked him where did he get indigo from, this nigga says slave narratives. And then he started talking about some the Negro cloth thing, but he never said where he got it from. So then that's another one of those things. Where did you get that information from about the Negro cloth? You know what I'm saying? I personally, I was looking up something completely different in the newspapers, and when I came across the Negro cloth thing, and it wouldn't have even been a thought in my head had I not recently been on the panel with him. But then I had to ask the question, what made you look up this Negro cloth? And if he can't tell me, like during the whole thing, he started saying slave narratives, and we know slave narratives is a bunch of bullshit. But if you can't tell me the sources on where you're getting your information, it's already telling me you don't read books. We got people on this panel and all throughout the Indian community that can rat off the name of a book and a source in a hot second on whatever talking point, on many of the talking points that they talk about. So if your leader can't even really say any of his sources. In fact, thinking about everything that I've really heard from Tariq, out of the 8, 6, 7, 8, 9 years I've been listening to him, I ain't listened to him the last year, but I'm talking about out of all those other years, not once besides I can't think of any receipts. I can't think of any receipts. Like most of y'all that are in here, most of y'all can go to y'all's favorites, or there's probably some receipts of mine that you already got stored in your brain that you could just write off. Yeah, I remember when that nigga Sam was showing me when Peter Martyr said XYZ. Or I remember when he was talking about the Wale Indians on in such and such book. Some of y'all, now, you know, I mean, some things y'all can do. Some of it you just got to go to a favorites and you can find it. There's not even a favorites. There's not a video. There's not a thing that I can go to that I can think of Tariq actually showing a source. And his documentaries make you think he's showing sources, but there are no sources shown. It's reenactments and interviews, and every once in a while there might be a couple papers that flash across the screen. I can't remember that, to be honest with you. That's why it's so important that we got to do our own work. We got to put out our own products, like what C3 Mommy was just showing up here. These kind of things are important because who the fuck else is making them? Who else is making this? Who else is making a book for the kids like she just made? Who else is making documentaries so that way people about Indians and the real history and trying to stick to the truth as much as possible and trying to, who is doing these things? I'm about to get on my little soapbox, but that's what we got to keep in mind on here. Who's doing these things? And it's definitely not Tariq. Everybody else is profit driven. And like I told you, I look, it's once I've gotten to look, I don't want to put documentaries out just all for free, just so that way, because I don't want to not accept a blessing that could come my way. And I know what I'm gonna do with it. I'm gonna do more documentaries. I'm gonna dedicate my entire life to telling as much truth as possible through these documentaries and also doing more work. But I also gotta fund that stuff as well, right? But even then, like, to be honest, my goal, once I've made enough money to where my life can be freed up to where I can study for the folks and stuff like that. All Look, man, there's so many ideas that we can do for ourselves as long as we have people that have the money and have the real morals and ethics to do it. Funding our own genealogy is something we should have been doing. The money from documentaries and stuff like that, that's going to be going toward that as well. It's going to be going towards small business, angel investing. These are things I've always wanted to do, right? And I've always looked at, just like some of y'all too, we've always looked at some of these people who have access to money like that. Like when I looked at Tariq and stuff back in the day, I've always had like criticisms like, how come you're not using some of your not just finances, but your influence? Because once you got enough influence, you don't even have to always use your finances. But how come you're not doing that to do something better for the community in many cases? Like, there's so many other small things he could be doing. He could be touring cities and going to black-owned businesses and doing free book signings or free documentary signings in order to bring information or bring light to some of these places where these folks be, or some of these businesses. You ain't even got to spend your own money. If you don't want to angel invest, you can go invest your influencer credibility into some of these particular things. You can show up at events that are all around that these black folks do and not ask for money. Like me personally, I'm not gonna be asking for money to show up to speak to folks. Let somebody ask me to speak. You know how bad I want to speak to a crowd of folks. You ain't gotta pay me, nigga. I'm there. Nigga, pay my flight. I don't want to have to pay to get there and all that shit. But you ain't gotta pay me. You know what I'm saying? But all I'm getting to is we got to put these things out there. And yes, we should be paid. C3 Mama, we should want to invest into our people too, right? But people like us who will stick to truth will do good in the community with that kind of stuff. And it's one of those things where if we don't do it, who else? Who else is gonna make a bunch of documentaries? Who else is are gonna make children's books? Who else are gonna make children's toys? In fact, one of the music producer in my studio. So in my studio, my podcast studio, we have a room in another room. And one of our rooms is a music studio, and is rented out by a dude. He's a music producer, and he was showing me this whole anime series he's coming up with, and it looks like some goddamn uh Airbender, what's that? The Avatar, not Avatar, Airbender, whatever that shit is. But long story short, each of the characters are like from a particular tribe. Like he has like a Mayan, one guy who's a Mayan, he has one guy who's a Choctaw, whatever, right? And each of these people are like they do these. I don't know. You like he's got these backstories for him. I guess they're gonna do some anime type shit, whatever. But that's some amazing shit. Like that's what we need, like to feed information to the people through entertainment, right? Because only so many people are gonna listen to this nerd shit. Don't get me wrong, this is nerd shit and we love it, and I'm a goddamn nerd. But only so many of us are gonna be on this nerd shit. Like me personally, a lot of this stuff I'm going to be I'm going somebody put wrong. I'm going to be I ain't even been my bad. I ain't even been looking down at y'all and what you call it in the comments. My bad, y'all. Y'all know I love y'all. Y'all my favorite folks. What was I about to say? That nigga typed wrong. I don't even know what they talking about. I said the music. I don't know what that person talking about. They might be, and I might be wrong. I might even be. You might be fine. I might, I hate coming into it, reading something, and I get it wrong, and I start clowning you, and I'm wrong. So, um, these are the things. So yeah, I'm gonna get off my little soapbox here, man. But we got to start putting this shit out there, and it's not just because of that, but also I just was showing that Tariq. I mean, they got the whole new HC6 coming out, y'all. Like, I mean, I ain't gonna. I'm gonna just play a little bit. Well, yeah, I could play a little bit. Hold on. Well, you know what? I don't know because copyright strikes, whatever. And this is on YouTube. But he has a whole the HC6 coming out. Okay, and they tying back DNA. They're trying to say that everything you got from your culture comes from your DNA, and we all know where the DNA they say FBAs have. Now they gonna try to, if I try to say that it's African DNA, now they're gonna try to cling on to some of that indigenous and white DNA. But this HC6 is talking about y'all. And it just goes to show. And also Nikki just showed me, and I need to do a video about this. Nikki Hee Woody, she just showed me where the Cherokees are doing a documentary, and it's also tying us back to Africa. In fact, at the very end, let me pull it up real quick, man. Fuck, because that one's not on YouTube, I don't think.
What?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull it up real quick.
Pale skin Cherokees? Not near one of them look like how they described them. But oh my god, look this shit up. Ever since we came, have y'all noticed that? Ever since we came out with this information as a community, not just one person for the big headed motherfuckers that want to claim everything, but everybody as a collective that have been deep diving and whatnot. You seen these paler skinned people coming out of the woodwork. They on Jennifer Hudson's show. They in the Macy parade. They going on Kai Cenat and these big streamer stuff, just trying to hide us again. Like that shit is crazy.
Straight
now
crazy.
A documentary, and they know they ain't got no proof of ever buying an African.
Yeah.
I looked for it. I cannot find. I've been looking for 3 years, y'all. 3-4 years. I have not found the proof.
And that's what's so wild. And they gonna go with it. I haven't. They gonna go with it tough that these people came from Africa. Is this it? I think I got it. Yeah, this is it. Let me send it to my what you call it. And these motherfuckers flash it in on the end. It's so fucked up. Watch, I'm about to show y'all. Hold up. It's so fucked up. And this goes into the importance that we got to put these products out, because they gonna be, if we let them continue to be louder than us, it's gonna be our people joining them tribes, thinking that they African and getting some kind of acceptance. Okay, here we go. Let me pull this out. Now I'm gonna play the end first because I want y'all to see what's on the end.
I need to know, what is our story? What is our history?
Y'all see how they did that? Notice on the end, I'm gonna play it again. Yeah, you see on the end, there's like, what is our history? And it explains out to go and got these niggas dancing a jig over there. Let me see if I can freeze it right there, right there. It won't let me get closer. Yeah, hoes like so. I can't get it closer. Damn it. Yeah, let me play the whole thing for y'all. Let me play the whole thing. Let me play this last part up.
Lies. I need to know, what is our story? What is our history?
He said, "Oh, you want to know what your history is?" Right there, nigga. I said, "That's fucked up, boy." Hold on, let me show y'all. What? Who? Nah, he said he lumpy.
Yeah.
Get the hell. Somebody told me he recently somebody sent me a DM and was saying he was claiming claiming his indigeneity. And I was like, he said in the past that he had indigenous in his family and he had looked it up, but he never was specific. So now he want to claim the Lumbee. He gonna claim the most mixed ass tribe there is. Oh shit. That's wild. That's wild, man. Now here's the full version. It's about 2.5 minutes.
When it comes to American identity, many Americans identify themselves as being the children of immigrants who came to these shores in search of a new life. And indigenous peoples identify themselves as being the ones who were originally here. Black people are the only Americans who can claim neither, because this is a group that was forcibly extracted.
Notice what she just said. We can't claim neither. Okay, we can't claim American or goddamn indigenous or whatever. These people be playing games
from their own homelands in Africa and made to come to these shores under duress.
To this day, people are surprised when we talk openly, as we do, about the fact that Cherokee Nation enslaved Black people under our laws. Some people are stunned by that, and I think that's all the more reason we have to talk about it.
The Cherokee Nation.
Now, they showed one document.
Was built on the backs of freedmen. It's a portion of history that can't be swept under the rug.
Native Americans were treated bad by the whites, and they turned right around and did the same thing.
Ain't that the same thing they've always said?
Now, that don't even make sense.
Mm-hmm.
That don't even make sense. The Native Americans were treated bad by the whites, and they did it to us. That don't even make sense. When did they turn around and do it back to the ones who did it to them? That don't even make sense.
FBA is dangerous.
This whole African narrative is the most dangerous thing put on us.
Mm-hmm.
It's even worse than the FBAs. Let's be real. Like, yeah, the whole FBA movement is dangerous, but Jerv, I was just about to say, but they pushing this shit and don't even realize it.
Yep.
Every continent have an like Malcolm X tried to tell them, you're an Aborigine. What are Aborigines? Black folks, but you want to be called American. He tried to tell y'all. Y'all like to quote everything else that man says, but that one quote.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then start off lying. Started off the whole segment lying.
It's wild.
America was built off of immigrants. What?
And how they gonna say?
Full of immigrants.
And how they gonna say we can't claim indigenous, even though it's like they want to think we're stupid. Even if you want to say we came from Africa, let's just go with that, right? Even though we know it didn't. When they come over here, they say that we mixed in with some indigenous folks. So we still can't claim it, even though that was in your. It's like they don't even want you. It's like they say the most idiotic shit. You know what I'm saying? You can claim this African ancestry because you came out that womb, but all these wombs you came out over here, you can't claim none of those, and you can't claim none of those European wombs either. These people are fucking weird. You know what I'm saying? Real weird. And let's keep it going. Let me let it finish here. Hold on.
To the freedmen, the black.
These are our roots. These are our ancestors. We want to be treated the same as other Cherokees.
We owe those ancestors a degree of respect and remembrance because they suffered.
Right now, we are making history.
I would not have imagined.
We are unraveling things that have never been talked about. We are finding things that no one knows about, and we're able to bring it to light.
So one of these 4 slaves is one of my grandmothers. I never want that to be forgotten, because without her, there would be no me. It's heavy. This is heavy here. It is so heavy.
You see where it's all disturbed?
Yes, sir.
And that's a possum.
We uncovered in 2 locations, approximately 13 graves.
The only
Well, how come y'all ain't uncovering no graves of it's about the end of that. How come they ain't uncovering no graves of no motherfucking Siberians though? You know?
Notice that they said these are our Cherokee ancestors and then show a bunch of pictures that's supposed to represent Africans.
You know what? I missed that. I missed that part. Hold up. Let me see. Oh shit, that's not it.
It blossoms out.
We're born, we're in resistance.
Hold on,
and it's
that.
handed down generation to generation.
And so I think that cultural.
Not that one. Hold up.
It's about, and we're able to bring it to light.
So one of these 4 slaves is one of my grandmothers. I never want that to be forgotten because without her, there would be no me.
Was it before that?
It was before this. Yeah, go ahead.
Portion of history that can't be swept under the rug.
Native Americans were treated bad by the whites. And they turned right around and did the same thing to the freedmen, the blacks.
These are our roots. These are our ancestors. We want to be treated the same as other Cherokees.
Mm-hmm.
Want to be treated the same as
and then they showing the card. Yeah. I did remember seeing that card. It didn't even register in my mind, but yeah. Wow. But and think about all the things that the Native Americans shit on us on live streams. In a sense, they're making visuals of that shit. Literally making visuals of this shit, man. The card is important. Your African DNA is important. Your whatever else. You said what? This is on the Cherokee website or Cherokee Instagram. So yeah, so when we say, I'm gonna put that over to the side. So when we say y'all, and TB, I got your maps here. If you still want to go over those, when we say we got to start putting these things out ourselves, there's a propaganda mill going hard against us. You got Tariq putting out films that is gonna make people feel good. You got Cherokee putting out films. It's gonna make people feel good. They gonna cry. Like, this my people. They was enslaved. I can't believe y'all did us like that. Can I get some benefits? That's them. That's where it's gonna be. So we gotta go hard. But yeah, what's up, boss? You said what?
I was just saying that's race baiting at its finest.
Man. But yeah, I got your maps here. That's wild.
Let me see if I can pull that map up myself.
We got St. Helena, got Charles Fort. Y'all know what's crazy? Let's see if I got that photo. I saw a fort. I saw a fort recently. Is this it? Right here. Carolina. Arks, Carolina. Doesn't that look like a walled city or a fort? Wouldn't you say that's a walled city or fort? Right there off the motherfucking what you call it. I was like, all right. And they said they were our forts first. But yeah, I saw that today. But let me pull this back up.
Hey, go to that other map I sent you.
Now I have seen this one. This one.
You seen the other one with the Coca Tikwe on it?
This one right here. These are the two that I saw. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, that's the two I see up in there. I do see Catafachique on here. And I've been seeing Catafachique mentioned a lot in these books. Catafachique must have been as big as Chikora or as popular or whatever. They did have queens, a queen there. They also, man, there was one book that mentioned a lot about Catafachique, about the people going up there, and I can't remember all the. I know I got the sources, but the people, but Catafachique has been talked about a lot.
Yeah, because that was the first place the Soto got ran from.
Hmm.
See, those Indians weren't friendly to him. When they found out what he had done in Florida, they jumped on him immediately. But I just sent you some about what you was talking about earlier about Chikara. You're going to find out about the Seaweed Indians as well.
I've heard of
Now, a lot
them.
of people don't know about the names of these different tribes, but when you go read it from the Spanish history, it all started coming out, and you be like, the Spanish don't never talk about these people having no chicken pox, smallpox, or no diseases, bro. They just always say they overwork them people if they end up hungry.
You know what? That's real. I got a.
But then when you start really going through,
Go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say I got a video of a white dude saying that same shit.
When you start thinking about it, it always be the Spanish who was starving and end up being the ones unalive in that high numbers. Then you be like, so when they were looking for the African slaves, they literally were saying the only way to ease up on the Indians, who were the vessels of the crown, was to literally give them slaves from Africa, from Cape Verde and the so-called Guinea coast. Now, when you start looking for manuscripts and manifests, they only keep repeating and replying the same letter. Because if anybody know about the South Sea Company and the Asanto, whatever, about the Basil Negro, because it started from that 1518 agreement, that petition begging for the license at the courts in Spain. Come to find out, the Genoese family was controlling the slave trade in the Guinea coast and Cape Verde. So weren't Italians, who are the Genoese, called Guineas?
I heard him talk guineas, yeah.
Oh, okay. So if the Genoese was selling African slaves for top tier price, and you got to remember, the South Sea Company went bankrupt after this, around the 1560s, but every company that was so-called bringing in African slaves also went bankrupt because they could not afford African slaves. Because they say in the 1520 they got 100 African slaves from Africa. So what does the 1526 story come from when they say in the 1520 they was trying to get African slaves, but they couldn't, so they kept the Indians working. So they say for 100 years, for a whole year, no African slaves were shipped. And for the next year, the same story. So by 1526, you know who came? Blackamoors, who was fighting the Spanish. Blackamoors. Not Guinea Africans. Because the Spanish was banned from Cape Verde by the Italians. So they had to go through their king to even get permission to go to Cape Verde or the coast of Guinea. Isn't that crazy? But the Portuguese had them named the coast of Guinea, but the Italians who had controlled the slave trade. You notice that they never talk about how the Italians controlled the slave market and priced the Africans out. That the Italians gave out the price of the Africans back then. It's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah.
Hey, Josh, I mean, you speak the language a little better than me. You should come up and teach some of this. I'm pretty sure you know some of these names by heart. I'll be butchering them.
But yeah, no.
When you this is that same coastal line that the Spanish went up. But this is the English acting like they know the Miko ships of these people. So these, as you can see, the Kusaka, the Kusa, the Wale, the Orisa, the Wanda, the Seaweed Chikara people, Kovaratikwe, the Yalisi, You got a couple other little tribes in there, but I don't really be knowing all the names. And you got the Chalaquí, the Jahara, the Gatara people. I think they name end up becoming I forgot what they end up becoming. I don't know if they end up becoming a Qatar. I gotta look it up real quick, but I be studying all the names of those tribes and what they became.
That's a lot of them. In fact,
But this is the map that shows.
go ahead.
Go ahead. But this map is gonna show you the Miko ships that was going in order, and
Mm.
how when the Spanish kept running into the different tribes, how they kept finding out who had control in what area and how this was going. Like, man, there's so many stories with the Spanish that when you start reading the story of the English, bro, you start knowing that they are stolen.
Mm. You said the who was stolen? And I see how that's Winyas. Is that a tribe? The fact that it has the word Ya in there is tripping me out too.
Yeah, you know, there's a neighborhood, there's a city called Winya, and we be trying to tell people, like the people that's from that area that rep like the projects or the neighborhood that's called Winya. Those folks don't know that they are the same people that's from there. Like that whole town was once Winya. Like it be hard to explain this stuff to people, bro. It's just like, oh, because we was arguing with a dude. He was like, I'm gonna get you. I'm from the Winya. And I'm like, bro, how you living in the indigenous hood, bang the indigenous hood, knowing that it was a tribe, and you saying you were African, having the Indian name in the Indian block? I just don't get it. I'm confused. So these names and these tribes, bro, when you start back going through a lot of the Spanish story, you're gonna start seeing these different names and these different tribes. You'll be able to actually dig into their Miko ships and do a little extra research because it all goes up and comes back down. So you go see people from the Orissa coming down, becoming chiefs in different tribes amongst Alabama and Lower Georgia after the Spanish attacked that area. So it was the people from the St. Helena, St. Paris area that came into Georgia that actually started arming folks against these folks. Like, man, it's a very deep story, bro. It goes a long way. Even the UG's involved in a lot of this, bro. And I'm talking about like the UG weren't playing with them people, but it seemed like all the Indian tribes that was. It's kind of hard to explain because it's like people, the ones like the Kiyokis. My ancestors were Kiyokis. They mix with the UG's, and this is how I get UG blood. Like my matriarchal line is Kiyoki, and my UG ancestors mixed with my Kyoki ancestors, and then when they moved to Waynesboro, this is where I get my Yamasee from.
Mm.
So it was like people don't know the Uchesi Indians were all over Georgia. They wasn't just in one small spot. You know what I'm saying? They always talk about the Savannah River, but people don't realize that anything that got the word Uchi in it is Uchi. But that's another
Yeah.
topic for another day.
And you know when I
But yeah, as long as you keep reading, my bad. Go ahead, bro.
no go ahead.
I was just saying, as you keep reading all of those Spanish texts, keep looking into the different Miko ships that the Spanish keep saying that they running into, and then bro, I'm not gonna lie to you when I tell you it almost by the time you start getting to the English being around, it start matching in like genealogical parts because you'll see somebody was born at this time, and there's another person with that same name, right? And then that person had children. But then you'll realize that all of these people disappeared, but then a whole family of people with Christian names popped up. What happened to the Indian names? And this is how I started putting stuff like this together. Because see, people see the word Oritza and don't realize that the letters ITZA is at the end. People don't know what an Itzakin is. These are the children of the sun, the original people, like your Luam King people, where the word kin come from, the people that built Chichen Itza, that migrated out of the lands of Florida into the Yucatan.
And that's
Mm.
how deep that history is. So when they get to talking about the Spanish bringing African slaves, we can show the bankruptcy of the companies and how that's very impossible because the Spanish couldn't afford these slaves.
Yeah. Um, and a lot of that makes sense. There was something I was thinking about. Something you just said. Lost my train of thought on it. And there was something you just said that really, really struck something with me. Um, and I was trying to look for while right when you said it, and then I was started looking for King Datha, this thing that talks about. I think it might be right here, or it's one of these. Hold up, this one right here. It's going to talk about the amount of tribes that were in that area down there. Oh, you talking about the mixing of the other tribes, like the Kusabos and different like the tribal mixes from different, and that's something that's so important right there, man, because that's how we keep a hold of these tribal names. Oh, that's what that's not what I was gonna think about. The whole, what? That's still one of my things. Like the whole thing about Indian names versus Christian names, because I do understand that a lot of our names and stuff we have, but I also do see that we had some people with these different styled names. So I am still trying to figure out personally what happened between that. Did some of us always have English like names and some of us didn't? Did and we all started to conform to the English tribes, the people that did English tribes? I know white folks didn't give us English, but I'm still trying to figure that whole thing out with the names there. I don't know if you've made any breakthroughs on that one.
Remember, a lot of people got they Indian names when they done like something good, like a deed. You know what I'm saying? Shall prove themselves worthy as a warrior, or wisdom, intelligence, leadership, stuff like that. That's how they
Mm,
got their leader name, their Indian name.
and you know what?
The Indian name was like a nickname.
That makes sense because okay, when I used to look at damn, that makes so much sense because even today's time, you'll go to the hood, niggas call niggas by they nickname. Oh, that's little such and such, or that's my homeboy such and such, right? Even the cops, when they pull somebody over, they'll say, "Oh, that's that nigga Squizzo or something," whatever his nigga's name, right? And but nobody really goes by the real name, and we've always went by aliases. Even if you grew up as a kid and didn't even choose an alias, your friends gave you a fucking alias. I remember them saying, "We gonna call you C Nub, Sam." Yup. It that
That's exactly what it is. So you got like see what it is like when you start looking at most people on the from the 13 colonies genealogical records when they from the mid colonies and the southern colonies, it's always the Barnwell to the Tuscarora all the way to the lower Virginia area. It's an amalgamation because this is when the English is coming in trying to outdo the Spanish in what they're doing. So everything that the Spanish got going on, guess what the English is doing? Stealing it. They're stealing it because they can't compete with them because they're already giving the Spanish praise for tricking the crown about who were slaves in America. See, the English knew that the Spanish had nothing but English slaves and they never got any Africans in. That's why when you read English documents about the Spanish, it's always about their business with the Indians and how they tricked and manipulated the Indians. And all these Spaniards were Moors and Sephardics, conversos. So people are missing the whole point of 1526 when it's clearly telling you they're asking for Africans when we know the only place that was Africa was the Northwest. The Guinea Coast was still a part of Ethiopia because they were still comparing people to who? The Ethiopians. The Spanish had never been to East Africa, so how they knew what East Ethiopia was? I put the whole text in Chat GPT and it said it was clearly misinterpreted. Fully
mm,
misinterpreted. So the whole story that they're telling about 1526 and that licensing is misinterpreted. That licensing and them begging for the Africans is all about the Spanish tricking the crown, saying that they are overworking and unaliving the Indians at mass numbers because the Indians are starving the whole time. It's just the Spanish starving, still having no one to labor for them. So everybody that's friendly to them, they abduct them. They abduct these people, and if these people do not do what they say do, they cut these people down like dogs in the street. This is the story, and that's the book I'm trying to send to you, because it's like, how you saying you getting Africans in, but you saying every year that's going by that you are not getting any Africans in because of the price the Italians got on the Africans. So if the Genoese of Italy is controlling the slave trade, when did the Spanish or the Portuguese ever have any control?
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of their books that don't have real manuscripts, like Lucas Vasquez, Columbus, and some of the other, I think even De Soto don't even have any real manuscripts that if I can remember. Like, if there's nothing real tangible, you see, yeah, that's what I thought. And if there's nothing real tangible, I start to chalk it up to the Council of the Indies. One, not only the Council of the Indies taking the books away, but two, them writing new books in their place. I feel like the books that I read through these are coming. I just don't feel like, because when I read letters, they read a certain way, right? If somebody's writing a letter, they like, hey man, the Yamasees is this, and we had to do that, or whatever. When I read these books, it's almost like I'm literally reading a story from a book, and I don't. That ain't real to me, you know.
Like, man, I wish I can share my chat with you, right? But I sent you the letter that he sent in the petition to the crown. And if your chat do what my chat did and tells you about how it's written on that, that's not the way that it should be written, and something is wrong, and that's why everything is misinterpreted in this letter, you're gonna start realizing that, well, hold on, this might not even be the handwriting of that man, because how everybody misinterpretate that letter, and why is chat telling me that the letters are wrong from the time frame?
And I've seen something like this.
The S should be an F, and something else should be something else. But when you're looking at these letters, none of that appears in the letter. So is it fraud? Did somebody just write it and make up some shit? That's what chat is basically saying.
I've seen a lot of stuff like that. Personally, I feel like I've seen a lot of stuff made up, and it's annoying because you're trying to go through all this history, and it's a lot of books and documents and shit to go through and look for, and when you get to reading it and you start to realize, man, it's like I'm reading a story. It's almost like, man, I'm really wasting my goddamn time. But that's what they do. They bury this shit under a lot of translations and fucked up shit, so that way it make it hard to find the real shit, if the real shit's even still out there. That's what's. And I see the letters you talking about, yeah. And they remind me of the letters I found in the Christopher Columbus museum. I actually found his facsimile letter, which is supposed to be, but it wasn't his letter. It was like, I think either Bartolomeo or whoever, but it was like a facsimile of that. And I tried to translate some of that, and ChatGPT somewhat did whatever. But this is what this looks like to me. And even that, I don't know if none of this stuff is real. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing, and that's the reason why I read all of the history, because even though it may not be real, at least I've read the primary that's supposed to be the primary, so I have a good argument that I've at least looked at these things. But typically, that's another reason why I read so many different sources, is because when people do lie, you're gonna see it at some point, because nobody ever does perfect lies like that. Typically, you're gonna find them saying something stupid or something outlandish, or you're gonna read another source that doesn't make this source look like, what the hell is that? Or like you said, somebody was writing it in a different era, but they trying to pass it off as if it's coming from the 1500s, but really it was something from that.
Chat is literally like, all right, I'm trying to put this at ease with my mind, how I just got this right. So as I'm looking at chat, explain it to me, keep trying to explain it to me as if this line is constantly misinterpreted because of the way that the words and the letters are placed in this art. When it should be this, it's this, and this, and that's not how it should be. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So when I started thinking about it, I was like, bro, the English constantly rewrote French and Spanish history. And these people were good at art skills, like mimicking, drawing, rebranding things in its natural, almost in its natural state and image, but from their perspective. So
Mm.
it's a book I just sent you, right? The cover of a book. I want you to look at the cover of that book. Pull it up real quick, because everybody gonna need to read that book with you. I've read this book before, but I forgot about it. And whatever is in this book goes exactly with your story. Because see, you got one story where it talks about 70 people being taken from the PD River. Then you got another story where it says 150 people were taken from the Cape Fear River.
You talking about the Spanish Borderlands title?
Yeah.
Okay. I see you in there on code. Yeah, you was on. She said they are retroactively adding text to ancient history. No, that's real talk. Let me send this over there. Hold up.
Yeah, so that's exactly what they're doing, right? I think these people have been retroactively, like just like she's saying, like in the next 100 years when they trying to put something together and they trying to figure out like it might be true that they were begging for African slaves, but the way that it's being written is not written by the people that should have wrote it. And like you're saying, it's punctuations and things that's in this letter that would have had not existed in 1526.
And I believe because it's not a hard thing to do. Yeah, it's not a hard thing to do to just redo some books. Go ahead. What you say?
Oh my bad. I thought I was muted.
Oh no, you good. Yeah, so it's not a hard thing to change some books. So I can see it. I think a lot of humans today act like it's just a far fetched thing that they wouldn't do. But like these people lie on camera in your face today. You on the news and everything else. So I mean, I look at the books as being yesterday's news. And if you could go back and alter videos and make it say something else, you can go back and alter books and take. And also, you got people like the Council of the Indies that I was talking about, where they were confiscating everything, all the books. They were pretty much censoring anything coming out of America for almost 300 to 400 years, going to Europe. So if you're censoring everything for 300 years, then obviously you're probably changing things too. A book comes in from some explorer that you don't want to have certain information in there, and then you go in and be like, all right, we're just gonna rewrite this and take this out, and now we'll put it out, or we're just not gonna put it out altogether. So yeah, no, I could definitely see that.
Thing is, right, when you start reading how they went into Trinidad, they got Indians from Trinidad to come into Saint Dominica, and they abducted 400 of them, right? And 100 of them was able to get away and grab arms and fight the Spanish. It starts kind of being like, okay, so what happened to the 400 Indians? Then somehow Indians from the Gullah Geechee corridor end up all the way down in Peru digging in silver mines. What happened to those Indians? The Spanish keep writing letters saying that the Indians are constantly unaliving and being starved to unaliving, right? Begging for Africans to be there because Africans are used to starving and digging in mines. You can't find no mining history in Africa of Africans until Americans bring machines there in the 1900s. Somebody is just lying.
Yeah, they were classified as, and they hit our lineage, which is really effed up thinking about it. And now they trying to gaslight us and play these mental mind games and say, yeah, I found Lumby, when he know that's not on his chart. He just doing MK Ultra on us. Don't fall for his shit, y'all.
And Moore says she saw where the government changed the 1790 census of freedmen 3 to 4 times. You know what? I think I know what you're talking about. Changed the 1790s. I think I know what you're talking about. More, and in one census, I seen where they would label them as Negro. Then also they some pages label them as black, some pages label them as colored. And I think that might be what you're talking about. Said man is mad source to use so many
On the
platforms.
1790 census, when it said all others free, it used to say Indians and all others free.
Mm,
They
that's another
changed it
thing.
3 or 4 times, and then it just became all others free. I remember that part because I used to trip out when I first got on TikTok. Like, when did they change this?
Yeah, and those census forms now make sense, at least to like the slave part. I look at like America at the time as like an open prison, like, and times back in the day is like open prisons. You were either free or you was not free, and typically when you were not free is usually because of some criminal act is what I typically see. They got the prisoners of war thing. Yeah, you got some people that was kidnapped and stuff, but I'd still say that falls under criminal acts, just like how now they over police us and falsely imprison us and all that other stuff. It's just back then you would have been enslaved instead of thrown in a little cell, from back in the day. And I just feel like a lot of the slavery from back then was really that, a whole lot of that. There, you got your apprenticeships, but then but then that's the thing too. Like I think I was saying that too. What box is checked for an apprentice on the census? There ain't no apprentice box. What box is checked for an indentured servant that's living under somebody's plantation? There ain't no box for that. He said Negro, and then that even starts to make some sense because like, are they black, like blackballed or black, black labeled in a sense? You know what I'm saying? People.
Matter of fact, this is the thing about what I want to tell you. I got to send you some more documents about how they remove more from the blacker Moors or the Mediterranean and just start calling them the blacks because they didn't want to take more away from the white Moors who were fair skinned and mixed.
Mm.
I gotta send you those documents, right? Because it lead to the Portuguese and the Spanish running from over there to the Americas so they could be themselves without persecution. But that same government and crown followed them right on over here, right? And they used the Indians as a way to say that they was ruling things because the Indians were friendly. But then they messed around and they landed in Florida.
Mm.
And that's when all their problems began. See, it's, ooh, bro. Yeah, but in this book, it's also going to bring up the blacker Moors. The beginning of this book is going to bring up the Moors and how they was tethering to the Egyptians and the Ottomans. Well, they ain't going to bring up Ottomans, but it's basically going to bring up how the Spanish were being ran by the Egyptians, who were Moors, and how basically they got kicked out of Egypt, and then these people got kicked out of Spain, and then they ended up over here in America. It's a typical story, and it's like people just don't listen. They don't listen. So once you read this book here, bro, and you go back and you read the other book and you go and read the next book that's close to this book, you're gonna say, this TV is crazy, bro. Why would he give me this information? Like, I got to put this on somebody. Like, you're just gonna have to rub it in somebody's face, bro. You're gonna have to rub it in somebody's face.
I can believe it. No, I can, and to be honest, I can't wait till I read this book because this book right here uh, looks damn sure interesting. And letters. I love reading letters, man. It feels like I'm like in the action. Like I can visually tell what the person is talking about at the time. Again, I don't know if these people are faking some of these things because again, some of these things are still kind of like iffy, but some of the letters do be kind of telling. Like when I was looking at the agency letters or the more recent letters I'm looking at are the ones that are from South Carolina between 1711 1716. But I do be looking at this like, is this real or not? But so far, it's telling the story, it's doing its thing, and it seems like it's coming from somebody's point of view about what's going on versus uh telling the story. I said it was telling the story, but It's not really telling the story. It's just kind of doing its thing. But yeah, and even right here, like you can see, it says thousands of Indians. And there was another one that I saw that said that like these people were scared. There was lots of us, not just few of us, because there will be other ones where the people will talk about, oh, it was just only a few of them over here and there. But no, these people were scared of the Yamasis. There was a lot of them. There's all kind of things that was going on. So yeah, I can't wait to break a lot more of this down over time and talk more about some of these things that we find. But yeah, no, man, we all on the right path. You know what I'm saying? All of us are doing hella good work out here to try to get this truth. We just, I'm gonna have to kick it up a notch. I am planning on the first documentary. It is gonna be. I'll be reaching out to some people next week, which is going to be some of the people that's close here, like main people in Dallas. There's only one person coming from not outside of Dallas. That's original. Haley says she might be in a documentary. She's in Houston, and either she might come up here, or I might come down there. But this is just going to be the one that's just about the roots, and then we'll get to the one where we're going to fly folks out and all that other stuff. And so I'm looking forward to all that. We all gonna have to kick it up just a notch, man, because they kicking it up even more notches on us right now with their propaganda and and they're trying to hide this African descent. Like a lot of these FBA panels I be going on now, everybody's trying to like skirt past the African descent part now. But that you can't do that. You got an acronym where you've claimed the ethnogenesis with 3 different folks. You done said African DNA so much, you ain't done no genealogy. You talk about Lucas Vasquez Day on 1526. You talk about slave trades. You talk about all this stuff, and then all of a sudden now you just want to be like, well, let's keep that quiet. No, y'all still believe all that same shit. You're just trying to get more of our people to come over there. Now we don't have to omit anything out of our talking points, our teaching to entice our people. When our people come across us, as long as we teaching great things, typically it'll resonate with them and they'll come over. Y'all are doing exactly what the Pan-Africans do right now when they come up on the panel. They lie. They get up there and they'll tell you they did their genealogy and they found an African. They lying. They'll tell you that their grandma said that they was only some Siberian Indians. They lying about everything. And if FBA has to go that same route, how different are they from the Pan-Africans? You shouldn't have to omit anything or lie to entice your people to join anything, and not to join anything, but to give information. That's, to me, that just pissed me off. It just pisses me off. and I know they motive. So but I appreciate y'all, man. I'll let y'all get y'all a last word in, man, if y'all want to, before I get up off of here. Appreciate that, Cypherborn.
You definitely gonna get somewhere, bro. I just can't wait to see you dig into this more, because, bro, they slipping on this part of the history, dog. Like, folks gotta realize that the English did not make it into these other lands until the late 1700s. The French and the Spanish were the ones running through the south, west, and southeast. So it's like, man, it's just so much to explain, and it's hard because, bro, you got a point that you got to drive, and I'm definitely interrupting that, Jay. But I just had to give you these sources, bro. So I'm gonna probably be blowing your inbox up with stuff that match this stuff. But, bro, it's just a lot to read, and the more and more you break it down to people, bro, people gonna be like, yeah, bro, the English definitely told all these lies to discredit all the history from the Spanish.
Mm-hmm. No, you ain't interrupting. No, yeah, or yeah, we just kind of open now, man. But no, that's real, and I'm a peep all the game that you seeing, and I'll be going out because you're on that East Coast area, I think so, right? That's where you live at. I'll be going out. You in Georgia? Okay. I'll be going out to South Carolina for Chief Sekou's corn festival. I think that's what it's called, Green Corn Festival, in May. And I thought about that, Georgia, because like I figured like it's gonna depend on how much time I'm spending there and how much if I can get away to go up there. But I was like, man, as much studying as I've been doing, like I really need to like go up and down the coast. And even I was like, Georgia's right there. Well, I say it in my head. I don't know. It might be hella miles from where I'm gonna be at, but I feel like I need to go up around there, man. So depending on how close it is, I might try to. I'm not sure exactly where. I hadn't got the location for yet, but I know it's South Carolina, I think though, but probably so.
Probably 2, 3 hours at the most. But it's like, bro, all the history that come up and down that river is the history that people gotta realize. Like, this is the history where the English had to sell off the Spanish territory to erase the Indians. The Spanish couldn't erase you. The crown couldn't afford to erase you. So the crown had to become your friend. So the Spanish that was in the land was just stabbing you in the back behind the crown back, and that's why they end up fighting the crown. The crown realized that's what they were doing. So they just, bro, when you start finding out that these folks just told so many lies, bro, to trick us. Bro, let's keep going, bro. Let's keep going.
Yeah, now that's real. And if because I would love to get you, of course, in a documentary, man. Like, if I get out there within a certain amount of time, I'll definitely or if I get out there and I have the means to get up to Georgia during that time, I'll try to. If not, we'll try to figure out some other way to link up though. We'll definitely try to link up. What'd you say, C3?
No, that's my son talking to me. I didn't realize I wasn't muted again.
Oh no, you good. You good, you good. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had, y'all, man. I was just the main thing was driving that 1526 BS home on the whole FBA thing. And you know, I did a video about it, and that video right now is making little numbers over there on the Twitter side of the game because I'm pissing them motherfucking FBAs off over there. So it is what it is. But let's see what it's doing right now. Yeah, 2.6K, and I just put it out 6 hours ago. I've done faster shit than that, but it's starting to move a little bit. People are doing some reposts. I got a lot of comments. It's probably gonna be all kind of hate, but that's some cult shit. You know what I'm saying? If you are mad because somebody really literally debunked your ideology with real sources, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, man. If your ideology can be debunked, you shouldn't be following that ideology. Shouldn't it tell you that ain't the best shit to follow if it can be debunked? Anyway, people are crazy, y'all. So I'm about to get off here, man. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate your TB. Appreciate your Gerbil. Appreciate your C3. And I'll be hollering back at y'all, man. And oh yeah, let me just Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And let me just also appreciate the chat. I ain't been as attentive to the chat today. And y'all know I love y'all, man. On Code, Nikki, Tabitha down there, Cypherborn. I seen you talking about you came in late to class. It's all good, you know what I'm saying? You can always catch the playback. And you always here, so I always appreciate Amore. I see you up in there. Like always, appreciate that and being attentive in the chat. Keely in there. I see you up in there. I am my ancestors up in there. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Trajan, everybody else. Choose your destiny. I'll be seeing you out there, of course. And yeah, don't forget to get the book and books by C3. I'll be getting the children's book here as well. So y'all make sure y'all get y'all hands on that. And y'all again support the folks, man. Like y'all give some more, y'all support C3 Mommy in this book that allows her to make more books. You never know, that could lead her into doing major things for children. She's a teacher, so she could be making children's curriculums or children's other whatever it may be, children's toys. This could lead to all kind of different things. And it would be amazing that you can go buy a bunch of children's toys that look like your kids, as well as it's got the culture of your kids. Quit buying Barbies and Kens. That ain't our goddamn culture. Goddamn Barbie and Ken dolls. They know who the hell is that? I don't give a damn if they make a black one. That's probably an African one. No, I'm just playing. Hey, Nikki said, "Please do. We need some Indian dolls." Yeah, I love that. Yeah, no, that's
People was farmers, agricultures, got that up in there too.
Pearls. I see the pearls. Did you mean to do that?
Definitely. Definitely.
Wow.
Then at the end it's the glossary, and I know we all come from different tribes, so don't be worried. It's gonna be different tribal languages. You know what I'm saying? So that's just the first one. Y'all wait for the next ones.
That'd be wild. Yeah, you can almost
It's in my
do.
bio.
You can almost do some of the same books, but in different indigenous languages for those people who want to, that's wild. Yeah. That's all right, man.
They want to make fun of our grandmother's oral stories. There we go. Now we got a book out that teaches our children to be proud of the oral story that's passed down from their grandparents.
Yeah, that's
Links
amazing.
in the bio, y'all.
That's amazing, y'all. Well, yeah, man, make sure y'all get that, man. Make sure you share it and make sure other people get it. And I'm gonna get off. She said, "Are those Berta beans?" Probably so. And I'm gonna get off here, man. Appreciate you, and y'all have a good night. You know what? I'm over here. I'm just my bad, y'all. On the YouTube side of the game, I just got off the TikTok side. I had that open, so I couldn't see the chat. Uh, Somebody down here is saying, "Good night, there. I am Amerindia me." Somebody says, "Sir, when are the so-called Black Americans going to get their own land, aka county, aka nation, aka nationality?" aka government that they completely in control of, and etc. People are weird, man. People are weird, dude. Like, do you think? Let me just throw this up here, y'all. This is what he said. He or she. That's what they said. They think you're supposed to just, as soon as you figure out who you are, you automatically should just be taking over the whole landmass. Yeah, that's what happens. We start to figure out who we are, and then you shame us for not, for some reason, all of a sudden taking over the whole world and taking land back immediately, as if there aren't processes to things, as if you're not supposed to go through the proper channels in order to get your land back, as if everybody hasn't been brainwashed and they're gonna have to be re-educated into the real information before they can even get to that point. Weird as hell, right? These people are weird as hell. Like, this is what they do in a weird spare time. Instead of listening to all the amazing information we put out here, what's going on in their head? They sitting there eating some goddamn Skittles, talking about, when you gonna do something else? Well, you're doing all this online stuff. When you gonna actually do something? Okay. Well, whatever. So that person really probably already left a long time ago, but